Q&Asa. Game on Daily.
Welcome to the world of Q&Asa. I'm not prepared, I'm not ready, which means it's going to be a brilliant show. It always is. I see there's already discussions and ingredients, recipe sharing for pancakes from the looks of things. So everything's going well. I don't even need to be here. Peter, welcome. Isla, welcome along. I've seen some other names. Tony's here, I think. You can't... Painful Discourse has given it a wee, as he always does. Lots of wees. Thank you everyone for coming along. Yes, the background is the Ascent. Yes, it is the first new background that I've had for a little while. It's a little bit of a celebration. A little bit of a celebration of a game that I'm enjoying at the moment. I'm not on top chat. You can't claim all of the points. Quake 2. Why are we yelling Quake 2? Are you just informing me that that the Quake 2 remaster is available now? Is it available right now? I think it is. Welcome, Dion. How you doing? This is the Q&Asa thing, as we always do. Oh, you're playing Quake 2 right now. Interesting. We'll talk a little bit about Quake 2 in a minute. It wasn't listed on my topics, but we definitely can. This is Q&Asa. We do it every week. It's a nice conversational show where we have a back and forth. If you want to say things to me, to each other, you just stick them in chat. That's the number one way to talk and just keep the flow of the show going. But if I suck and I don't pay you the attention that you crave, if I miss your comment, if you've got something really important that needs to be addressed, then you can stick it in the YouTube Q&A box. At the end of the show, we'll go through every single one of those to answer or address or giggle at, or just generally respond to everything that you stick into those. That's option 2 if you want to participate. Option 3 is Discord. If you want to present your face and or voice to the world via the internet, then you can jump into Discord, jump into the Game on Daily server. Down on the left hand side of it, you'll see a what do they call them, like a channel section, something or other, category called Q&Asa. If you stick yourself in any one of the waiting rooms there, you've got waiting room B, waiting room 2, or waiting room Knuckles. All waiting rooms are equal. Stick yourself in any one of those. When I notice you, I'll bring you in on Discord and you can talk for a couple of minutes. I've watched 2 new season, new hero, new modes and maps. Play the trailer. Tony, I'll play the trailer in a bit. It's definitely not one of the topics for today, but as you've raised it, yeah, we can look at Overwatch 2 and see what's coming. Peter, have I had a hair raid? It's shrunk a little bit. I don't know how. Closed my eyes for a couple of minutes and then I was like, hang on, head feels a little bit colder than it did before, and yeah, it's a bit shorter. Happens from time to time. Ears lowered, as they say. Yep. Yes, that's happened. Option 4, if you wish to have your voice heard, is super chat. As you know, my minimum price is $1,300. or equivalent in your local currency. If you want your super chat to be read aloud, it must be over $1,300. If a super chat comes in with any other currency, I'm going to go into, like, just check on a currency conversion chart. If it beats that $1,300 threshold, then I'll read your super chat aloud. If it doesn't, those get ignored. Painful Discourse, it was 800 last time, but, you know, inflation. Times are tough. Revenues aren't where they need to be. I've had to revise my forecast for the year, and to try and claw it back, I've raised the price of super chats to 1,300. Which obviously I do because I don't want people that have come here to give me their time and attention to throw money into super chats. That's not how it works. But if you do want to do channel membership, I do appreciate those very much. Like Peter Morland is showing off just there with a fancy new bronze badge. I do appreciate the badges, so thank you for that, Peter. Oyo Savaloy, read this, my good man. It is read aloud. So thank you for that. Yes. So should we do the show? No, of course we can't do the show yet because we haven't had a word from our sponsor. Our sponsor this week is Game on Daily, here we go. It is a news aggregation platform. Will eventually be a social media platform. We'll have all kinds of things going on. Community news, conversation, things like that. Jump on it, say words. Yeah. Game on Daily, cool place, cool people. Now we can go on with it. So, we're not sponsored by Manscaped, sponsored by Game on Daily every week. Wow, what an excellent website, beyond compare, all capital letters yelling, because it's true. Which isn't to say that everything you write in capital letters is true, but I definitely approve of that particular comment. The OST today, by the way, is quite difficult. Okay, Tony has got his bronze badge, and I'm going to read what he said, and I'm going to regret it. Let's see. There are things I want to say and do to you. Asa, why do you always yell my name? 2 of those letters don't need to be capitals, Tony. But thank you again for the membership and for actually being quite tame with that. That could have been a lot worse to read out, so I got off lightly. Thank you, Tony. Tom, good evening, sir. Hope you are eating well and, you know, enjoying. It was yesterday your birthday, wasn't it? So yesterday, was it today? No, it was yesterday. So I hope you had a wonderful birthday, and I hope you're feeling good and youthful. Is it the Ascent behind me? It most certainly is the Ascent behind me, yes. But the OST is harder, more difficult. I knew a lot of you would get the Ascent background very quickly because quite a few of you were watching while I was playing in this very scene. Tom has made it. Yes, he has. Recovered from the birthday shenanigans. Gracing us with his presence. Space Denizens here as well. Space Denizen, give me your games. It's going to be the same list, isn't it? Because they were like games that you can play forever from last week. Everybody tell me what you're playing at the moment. I've been thoroughly enjoying the games that I've been playing this week. So I will run through those in a minute. Tony missed his chance to be very naughty. It's almost like he respects us all. Almost, Peter. He just had a momentary lapse in concentration. Next month, I'm sure it'll be a travesty. Next month. So tell me what you've all been playing. So I've seen some Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3. What did Tony say about Baldur's Gate 3? Because Tony's not playing that. Baldur's Gate 3's success is making other devs wet their pants because they might not be able to meet fans' expectations. Well, similar happened when Elden Ring came out. Every now and again you get flagship games that are full of content, and yeah, it shines a light on what everybody else is doing. Rosie the Clown, the Ascent on easy and lots of photo mode, mind-blowing. So I'm not playing it on easy, but it is. I never use photo mode in games. I don't care for photo mode particularly. There's been a couple of exceptions. I took like maybe two photos the whole way through Horizon Forbidden West because the lighting when you fight robot dinosaurs at night is quite striking. So I captured a little bit of that. And the Ascent because the angle is where it is. You don't get to fully revel in all of the detail while you're playing it, but every now and again you get to a scene and you're like, oh fucking hell, that looks nice. So I dip into photo mode, zoom it in, see what it looks like. Joe, you've been playing My Little Pony on the Series X this week. What is that? Is it a platform game? I know like the IP, I know what My Little Pony is, but what is the game all about? And is it better than Hades? Which is awesome. How far through Hades are you? So Shady, you've just installed Atlus Fallen and you're going to be jumping in shortly. So you haven't had the chance to sample it yet. You're just going to give it a go. Tony, you're still on Final Fantasy VII remake. I can't remember what it's called. It's remake, isn't it? Still playing it. You're at the part where it told you that you need to do the side missions before heading to, no spoilers, but that's not much of a spoiler, so I'll let you off. And yes, you are at the end. You don't have to do the side quests if you don't want to. Unfortunately, when you beat the game, it does let you chapter select and do what you want, hop around and clean things up. Which is not a spoiler. It's just it's a moment of disappointment for me when it said that. You can hop around chapters now rather than we're going to let you keep your save file for the next release to carry on. You don't have any plain flour. You have self-raising and you have gluten-free plain. Oh no, the worst kind of pancakes. They're not going to cancel out. You can't put too much self-raising or you're going to have puffy pancakes. Joe, you should probably mention that you were playing that with your 4-year-old, not Hades. So is My Little Pony a co-op platform adventure? Or was your 4-year-old the focus of the single player experience and you were handling the difficult controls? So Shady, you're just going to jump right into the deep end, hope that there's enough water. I'll talk about Atlus Fallen a little bit. I have played it a little bit. So that will be a minor topic for the day that we'll cover. But I'm going to go through other games first. Oh, Joe. That was awkward. Actually wasn't the first time, but when he brought it back up at the end of the show, then it became awkward. Tony, side missions, you've been doing them all. The side missions in Final Fantasy Remake aren't particularly good though. Some of the combat stuff is interesting, but go looking for hidden cats or whatever. That was low standard ball. Peter, you had a quick go on Persona 5. So you went for the high school JRPG. And a quick bit of Bramble, which you've neglected. And then you started over on Limbo, which you're trying to convince us all to go back and play again, huh? So, how did you find Persona 5? Because that's quite different to the things that you normally play. And everybody loves Persona 5. Everybody loves Persona 5, apart from me. I didn't particularly love Persona 5. It has like some real striking quality about it, but also some shite as well. My Little Pony is a horror survival first-person shooter. Awesome. If you double up the shooter, you know there's going to be a lot of like pony gore. Breeze the Clown. Photo mode reveals a whole other cyberpunk tourism aspect to the game. Lots more going on in the levels than you can see in the game. Yes, there is. The level of detail is quite remarkable. And it's not just, and like you say, it's not just what you can see. You've got this aspect of it where you can zoom in close to what's happening, but you also just get to pick these different angles. And one thing that the Ascent does really well is lots of the different areas have like glass floors. And when you look through them, there's like a world underneath. Level of detail for a game that's so closed in like that is quite, well, it's massively impressive for the 12.5-man studio that made it. So, always double the shooter. You got to for the excess violence. Tom, you've installed Persona 5. You looked at it in the dash. You got scared and uninstalled it. It's not scary. I mean, it's definitely, obviously, very firmly in the high school subgenre of JRPG, but it looks fancy. Like it's very consistent in its styling all the way through the interface to the music and all the rest of it. It does that very, very well. But then you do have to do day-by-day school life and high school romance. You love Persona 5 as much as you love Mario. Good. So My Little Pony has 2-player for mini-games. Your daughter got 960 gamer points by herself, so that was worth £8. Good. Peter, you wasn't mad about it, but you liked it. Not your usual stuff. You're definitely going to get back into it. It's like a 100-hour game though, so you're going to need to like it if you ever want to get to the end of it, and you're not going to finish Persona 5 before Starfield comes out. I'm sorry to break that one to you. So, Space Denizen, you beat Dark Souls. Space Denizen's games list is different to everybody else's though, because Space Denizen is listing games that he's played in VR. So that's Dark Souls, modded to play in VR, which I really should try. Pazza, welcome along. You've changed your name. It was Castle Del Pazza. Now you're Pazza Lad. But it's got to be the same person. There's not two Pazzas. 100 hours of high school romancing is terrifying. You're not wrong, Tom. You're not wrong. Painful Discourse, you started up Quake 2. Are you going to dive straight into the new standalone expansion? So for those that don't know, QuakeCon is running at the moment. And as was rumoured, there is a Quake 2 remaster that is out and available to play right now. What platforms has it come to, Painful Discourse? The Quake 1 remaster came to everything, didn't it? But Bethesda they've been with Microsoft for a long time now. So where have they released the Quake 2 remaster? All platforms again, and it includes a brand new, I think, standalone expansion as well. Are you playing through the entire game, or are you jumping straight into the new content? First campaigning, okay, fair enough. Does Quake 2 have a campaign? Yeah, Tony, it was only Quake 3 that dropped the campaign. Quake 1 and Quake 2 were very much, they were campaign first with multiplayer as the extra, and their multiplayer was popular, but they were very much campaign games. It's on Game Pass. Of course it's on Game Pass. The only thing that I've not gone through games I'm actually playing yet. The things that are weird about Quake 2 though is the remaster, like, it doesn't look very beautiful as remasters go. It's in the same vein as the first one, so they've given it a high definition lick of paint, let you play it at 4K. It performs really well. It's the same game as it used to be. It's a nice faithful upscale almost, which is fine, but I can also play the entirety of Quake 2 in virtual reality if I want, or I can play the entirety of Quake 2 with path tracing. So there's lots of options for Quake 2, and I don't know if the release today is necessarily the best way for me to play that one, but I'll look into it. Exactly, Tony. Steam has Quake 2 RTX, fully path traced Quake 2, which was initially it was a tech demo from Nvidia, and initially it was only playable on Nvidia cards. It was Quake 2 RTX, like you said, but I think it is just Quake 2 ray tracing now. You can play it on any hardware that supports ray tracing, PC hardware, obviously. You wish the VR mods were multiplayer? You can. So in the VR mods for Quake, I've only had a look at Quake 3, and it's the entirety of Quake 3, so you can mod it all you want. It's a side project that I haven't started yet. I want to put some of the old mods that I used to play. I used to play Pancake. I want to put them into the VR version and play there. The Quake 3 one, though, it's entirely multiplayer. Is Quake 2 not? Quake 3 was my childhood, so I have not actually tried 1 and 2 in VR. Emergency Milk has made Tony put... What is that? Is that like a Pac-Man ghost? I don't know. Quake 2 campaign was very, very good, says Joe. I've definitely played a bit of the Quake 2 campaign, but not in its entirety. And I've definitely gone back and played it in RTX a little bit, but again, didn't get very far. That was just experimental, see what it looks like. This week, I've played a little bit. Actually fucked up my neck this week, so I've not played that much virtual reality, but I did play a little bit more of Stormlands in VR, which works really nicely on my treadmill. But I haven't been streaming it because when I'm playing the Oculus native games like that, I can't interact with chat in the same way. I can do what I do on the PlayStation and have it read into my ear, but I wasn't quite ready for that. So I played a little bit of Stormlands, which is an Insomniac game. I'll bring the little trailer up. Why not? Why not? We like trailers. Oh, I didn't put my keyboard on my lap. Everything's difficult. No one's going to get the music today. It's almost impossible. It's not impossible, but... Only 3 gigabytes for Quake 2. Yeah, there you go. You can download it now and play it while the show's still on. Tom, you know what emergency milk is. Just leave it at that. Right, here's Stormlands. While I just briefly talk about it. So Stormlands is primarily, like, it's made to be a 3-player co-op virtual reality game. I haven't actually got that far into it yet. I'm still going through what it presents itself as a fairly story-driven game to begin with. So I'm recovering, like, abilities to allow myself, like, new functionality and movement options, as well as trying to chase down my former friends and whatever else, robot buddies. It's still unfolding that, and I haven't actually got to the procedurally generated, replayable, on-loop, looty 3-player stuff. But it's visually very nice when you're in a headset. Movement is really cool. The world is really cool. Insomniac are super talented with virtual reality, so hopefully they're doing something for PlayStation now that they are owned by them. That is all I played in VR this week, which is a shame. Want to play more. Will play more. So many games that it's so difficult to just pick. When I look at the list, it's like, oh, I've got these 100 games on my backlog. But no, I've got to go back and finish my Asgard's Wrath like a real player that does games to the end. God, I should do that. Anyway, that's Stormlands, which I'm not going to talk about very much. PSVR 2 is almost dead at the moment, says that IGN Ryan fella, right? Ryan McCaffrey. We'll talk about PSVR 2's health or lack of and all the rest of it a little bit later, because that is it's a minor topic we can touch on in a bit. Rose tinted glasses. It was one of the first person shooters you played. Quake 2. As to why you like it so much. It's not just you though, Joe. A lot of people are big fans of the Quake 2 campaign. So they confirmed at QuakeCon that Machine Games are working on multiple games aside from helping the new Quake 2 content. I mean, Machine Games are working on Indiana Jones, obviously, aren't they? But something Wolfenstein as well, perhaps. Fair enough. Never played the Wolfenstein VR thing. Blah, never mind, that's not supposed to be very good. So Shady, make sure to grab Ascent. Oh, you made sure to grab the Ascent right before it left Game Pass. You already got every achievement in the base game and expansion, but you enjoy the game too much to not have it forever. Yeah, I can't actually remember buying it, but I do remember buying the DLC. I think I probably got an edition that included the base game and the DLC, just because I wanted the DLC. I really very much enjoy it. Let's talk about the Ascent, because that's what we're doing. We're talking about games that we're playing. And one of the two games that I've really friggin' enjoyed this week has been the Ascent. I intended to play on stream Red Dead Redemption 2. And through story some of you know, that became impossible. And that's still in motion. I'm still trying to recover Red Dead Redemption 2 from a Russian hacker. In the meantime though, I went, right, I spent too much time trying to get that working. I'm going to play something quite relaxing for the short amount of time that I had left to stream. Jumped onto the Ascent, and as always happens when I jump onto the Ascent, I just really massively enjoyed playing it. Such a good game, and I can explode things. It's obviously the camera while you're playing it moves around a bit, but predominantly it's isometric, like top-down dungeon crawling style. But all of the carnage, the explosions and guts and things, they all have a really nice like verticality to them. Kind of like in Diablo 3 and 4 when you do a corpse explosion and all the bodies fly up, and it's like really satisfying. The Ascent has that in space. It sounds really good. It looks really good. The shooting is just plain satisfying. I'm not playing it properly. When you start the game, it coaches you into like squatting behind cover and shooting over the top of it and all the rest of it. I don't do that. I just run around like a mad fool with a shotgun and make as much stuff explode as possible, which is a good time. Really good time. I'm right near the end of the Ascent. I've got like 5 more of the side missions to tidy up, and then I think the last story campaign. The guns are great. Yeah, Boozy the Clown, the guns, there's quite a lot of variety, which I never really realized, because when you go through the item descriptions, they don't necessarily tell you the intricacies of the weapon. So they tell you what type of weapon it is and they have a little description, but until you start equipping them and like shooting them at something, you don't necessarily realize quite how different they are from each other. So I normally use a shotgun and a rocket launcher at the moment, but there's like a random pistol that I picked up, and the description of it said it was like a ballistic pistol or something basic like that, but it said it like fires the entire chamber at once. It made it sound really powerful, and it was a lie. It wasn't powerful. What it did though was a really short range strange burst that stunned your opponent. So it took up hardly any health, but it left them like in a little daze for a couple of seconds. So you'd shoot them with the pistol, change to your other weapon and blast them. It's not a combination that I particularly wanted to do, because you cut things down pretty quickly anyway just by getting close and shooting them. But as like weapon diversity goes, I was impressed. And then I had my my automatic rocket launcher whirling up and firing a billion rockets at people, which again I didn't end up using, but the fact that it exists and is different to the other guns, loads of fun. Various like energy weapons, homing weapons, fiery shotguns, all of this kind of stuff. It's possibly quite difficult to upgrade much of the arsenal. The way that upgrading works, you've got like common components that you'll use to upgrade all the different weapons and things. So I've only got like 2 or 3 guns that are effectively powerful at the moment. Is the Ascent a twin stick shooter, or is that genre only for games where the right stick shoots? I'd still call it a twin stick shooter. I think there's lots of twin stick shooters where you have to press a button in combination with using the twin sticks. But obviously, as you know, Tom, you can play the Ascent with just one stick if you forget that you're supposed to use the second one, and you'll do okay. You'll get by for like a good hour or 2. With it just being slightly more clumsy than it should be. I call it a twin stick shooter, and a dungeon crawler of a sort, and a cyberpunk sci-fi explodathon, And Tony was saying while I was streaming that he doesn't like the loot system because you have to press a button to pick things up. But I very much like that the loot is simplified. After playing Diablo 4 for a little while and having to manage my inventory and salvage things, sell and drop things every 10 minutes, it's really nice that in the Ascent you never have to do that. You can just go mindless, follow the quest marker, blow up everything that tries to shoot you, blow up everything that can be exploded, and just have a good time. So I'm well impressed by that. Really want to know what Neon Giant are working on next, because their like company blurb when they launched the game didn't imply that they're going to stick to making the Ascent over and over again, like they're going to stick within that universe. It implied that they've got lots of universes they want to build and flesh out and explore. But I really like the Ascent and I just want them to make another one. Needs automatic pickup. Does it though, Tony? Does it need automatic pickup? Do you get upset when you have to pick up things in other games by pressing a button? Tom, you agree it works in the same way as other twin stick shooters where you use 2 sticks? You don't have to. Yeah, when you use 2 sticks. It's way more stylish than the average twin stick shooter. Love it. Really enjoyed the Ascent. Another game though that I really enjoyed that leads on to one of the topics today, and some people will disagree with this one because people like to... Unfortunately, this game happens to be a console exclusive, so that makes it controversial by default. Horizon Forbidden West. I played since it came out in February last year. I played it on and off for the entirety of that time. It's taken me 80 hours, I think, in total, a little bit more than that, maybe 85. And I finally finished that game off, and it's brilliant. I really liked it. So I came off of that on a bit of a gaming high, thinking like, wow, this is such a good game overall. Tells its story really well, and I was a massive Horizon skeptic before the first game came out. The robot dinosaurs were not a concept that sold me at all until it explains it away quite well in the game. Second one is solid sci-fi, like it's well considered. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. But what it does at the very end of the game, the end credit scene is like a fly-through of the world. It's a gorgeous game in terms of the way that the world is built. Everything is very curated and it looks good from every distance. But it does a nice little fly-through. It's got lots of dynamic systems in terms of weather and things like that. And I went through thinking, yeah, this was, as open world games go, I hold this in similar regard to The Witcher 3, which is saying a lot because The Witcher 3 is phenomenal. But Horizon does a lot of the same things well and has really good combat. Some people don't like it, but I really like the combat. And it got me thinking, what are the best open world games? You're a culinary genius. Your pancake looks like a Mr. Kipling bar. That's actually how Mr. Kipling discovered all of his cake recipes. He was trying to make something else. Added a little bit of icing to whatever came out and he was done. Open world games. So first of all, let's start nice and simple. It's a question for all of you that are here talking to me right now. Do you like open world games, or do you prefer things to be more confined and linear? That's the... and I'm talking specifically single player games. You can bow out and say you hate single player games if you want, but in your single player adventure story kind of games, do you like it to be confined, tight, corridor-like? Or do you prefer like that open world? Because there's obviously pros and cons to both. A linear story-based game, which really this does not cover Minecraft at all. I'm sorry, Isla. Linear story-based games, the writers, the producers, they have very fine and intricate control of the pacing of the story, and pacing of like storytelling in any medium is like it matters a lot in terms of impact and delivery and all the rest of it. If you've got a linear game where you're just doing what you're told the entire time without much freedom, then you get very deliberate pacing to the story, and you can go through with no dull moments if it's a good game. Open world games are the opposite. It's very difficult to tell a well-paced story in an open world game because you've given the player the freedom to not really follow it with the pace you might have intended when you were writing it. And the curse of most open world games is that they try and fill that open world but can't maintain a quality level that really justifies it. So you get loads and loads of open worlds that are filled with shite content. No, let's see, I'm talking about games that have worlds that are built. And Minecraft is procedurally generated, so it's eliminated from the conversation. You can't talk about world building in a game that does not actually have a world. And Minecraft doesn't, I'm afraid. Your world is unique. Your world is Isla's Minecraft world. So, different conversation. You can talk about Minecraft in a whole different category of games, but not this one. Tom, you usually prefer linear or semi-open, but if the open world is one of the great ones, then they're great. Well, that's what we're going to get to next. Peter, depends on the game style. You like both, which you suppose isn't an answer. It's a fine answer. I think most people probably do appreciate both overall. Clearly there's advantages to both, so it makes sense. Tony, the only thing that you care about is being able to explore as you go and not need to double backtrack to areas that you already went through. You hate backtracking, it's a waste of your life. You must hate Metroidvanias, Tony. Every Metroidvania game, like, backtracking is the purpose of it. Very efficient in terms of development, resource and budgets. Isla, did not hate on Minecraft. It just doesn't fit this conversation. Pazza, your favourite open world game is Assassin's Creed. You know it's not for everyone, but you enjoy the story and the chilled explanation, I assume. Tell me which one, Pazza, which Assassin's Creed is your favourite, if you have to pick a singular one. Tom mentioned that open world, like particularly great open world games as well. So first question, this isn't the first question, we're on like question 4, maybe 5, maybe 6. Tell me which open world games you can appreciate and respect as being like the best of the open world games, and then we'll get into why afterwards. But for now, just like list some off. Open world games that are really good. So you got Assassin's Creed from Pazza. I'm not sure which Assassin's Creed yet, but we'll get there. I'm not an expert on Assassin's Creed games because I haven't played them. The first Assassin's Creed games sold themselves on the back of being stealth based. So I looked at them and went, ha, stealth is for wankers and cowards, and I never touched them. Voice of the Council, Red Dead Redemption 2. This is what led me to go, I should finally play Red Dead Redemption 2. If I want to have a conversation about which open world games are brilliant, there is no way I can not be fully aware of how Red Dead Redemption plays out. Because I have not played Red Dead Redemption 2 beyond the snowy prologue. I will play it and I will understand it more. You have the world building. Explain world building to me though. Old school curated levels get accused of shackling the player in the same game. Okay, so you've got a mix in Red Dead Redemption 2, have you? Explain world building though. What do you mean by world building? What makes a world well built? And how is it not Minecraft? The Simpsons hit and run. I mean, I guess you could probably include that. It might fall more into the like Crazy Taxi line of games. I don't know. Does The Simpsons hit and run force you through a story? Or is it more of an arcadey Crazy Taxi knockoff? Hazalad, your favourite is Syndicate because of the British history. Wow, then you're going back. But no. I thought you meant the game Syndicate. You like Assassin's Creed Syndicate. I played Assassin's Creed Syndicate. There's like wagons and stuff, and you walk forwards and it tells you how to stab someone. That's as far as I got. Hit and Run is a knockoff of Grand Theft Auto. It is, yeah, but you can knock off Grand Theft Auto without having a campaign. Road Rage was Crazy Taxi. Okay. And is Hit and Run, like, it's respected as being a really good game, but is that just because it's funny and fun to play, or does it do other things well? Is the world building good and all that stuff? Curious about that one. That one is part of the conversation. You can have that. You made a text-based adventure game in the 80s that involved a lot of revisiting. You wouldn't have liked that then. Ooh. Elden Ring is a fine one to talk about. Yes, Space Denizen. Yeah. What makes Elden Ring good? I want to know on each of these. I want to know what it is that makes them like stand above others as really good open worlds. Because there's like a set of different qualities that some of these do really well, and some of them are completely absent. So when I'm playing Horizon Forbidden West, the world in that game is really tightly curated and really dense. Like there's stuff everywhere, but it's not very dynamic, I would say. Like as a as a thing that other open world games potentially do better, in Horizon Forbidden West, everything feels very finely curated. Everywhere you go looks really nice. There's not a single like bland area on the map, but each of those areas will be the same every time you go across them. Like, it is very built and curated to look a certain way, as opposed to like a Bethesda game, a Skyrim or whatever, where every time you're walking a particular journey, different things might happen and you can see different systems like overlapping and interlocking and delivering like emergent dynamic gameplay. And I think Red Dead Redemption 2 probably leans more into the dynamic side of things, which is why I'm excited to play that. Then you've got like Cyberpunk packs in so much, like Horizon but different. It's so densely populated. There's so many people everywhere, but those people are so dense in every way. So densely populated, but everybody's so stupid. All the systems don't quite click into place. So when I play Cyberpunk and pedestrians start walking into me, it loses a little something. And then you've got Elden Ring, which is almost entirely empty, right? So all of these things that I like about different open world games, the density and curated content in Horizon, the dynamic systems of Skyrim and things like that. You go through Elden Ring, and it's difficult to put my finger on that one. It strips back so much from other open world games in that, like, there's obviously no massive HUD, there's no stuff blinking all over your map telling you where to go and what to do, but there's just something about the world and the way it looks that makes you want to go over there and see what that is, and it's rewarding to go over there and see what that is, because it so often takes you somewhere new and just really well crafted. Elden Ring is the only open world game you've played that you enjoyed all of it and would like more. And you played that one in VR, didn't you? Co-op went a long way. Oh, you played Elden Ring in VR and co-op. Oh, fancy. Peter Molland, you liked Crazy Taxi. You're allowed to like Crazy Taxi. I enjoyed Crazy Taxi. Simpsons Hit and Run has a very good story, does it? Maybe I'll play it one day. Through the story and everything. I never get through a Grand Theft Auto story. Grand Theft Auto 5 is a little bit different because similar to Red Dead Redemption 2, a Russian hacker stole it. I can't really launch that one. But the older Grand Theft Auto games, like not old 1 and 2, but 3 and 4, I always just embraced chaos, exploded everything, eventually got arrested or killed, and at that point those Grand Theft Auto games are quite punishing. They just take away everything that you've got, and you just say, well, I'm not saving that, and you turn it off. And then the next time I play it, cause chaos. I guess the Grand Theft Auto games, are the systems in those dynamic? They probably were, like, for the time that they came out. I don't know how they hold up today against other things. Oh, you played Elden Ring in pancake mode before you VR'd it, but you have VR'd it as well, right? Tony gets a good fucking job from Peter. You're about to report his message for harassment. I like it. Good. So Boozy the Clown, the world feels more alive than any other game. They hid the procedural binary computer feel for nature and violent way. Which game are you talking about, Boozy? Is that... Wait, scrolling up, so Boozy, oh, Red Dead Redemption 2, yeah. So, that's what I'm hoping for, because I've seen bits and pieces of Red Dead Redemption 2 where things play out that you don't expect to play out, and that's the dynamic hook that I think will probably, hopefully, like really elevate that one to be one of my favorites, and that's what Horizon doesn't really have. There's never really anything too unpredictable. Combat feels good, everything looks great, it's really densely packed, the story is really good, but it doesn't have those overlapping systems and unexpected things like chaos going down. Red Dead Redemption 2 is slow paced, that's not necessarily a bad thing. And then there's the Ubisoft formula of open world game, where you make it as big and bloated as possible. Am I inside a 4090? That's not a bad shout. You can tell because the fire behind me makes it quite possible, doesn't it? Welcome, illegal dad. What makes a dad illegal? I don't want to know what makes a dad illegal, but welcome along. That is not a bad shout. No, this background is from the Ascent, and it's fun. So where have we got on open world games? If you're going to make an open world game, like, what's important to you if you're going to play? If you're given a menu of open world games, not established IPs, they're all new, but the menu is talking about these kind of things like how densely populated it is, how artistically beautiful it is, how dynamic the systems are, how good the combat is, how much bloaty side content there is, all of that kind of stuff. Oh, that's the other thing actually that Horizon does do well. The side content, it straddles both lines. It's got the Ubisoft side content, like go and do boring hunts and melee pits and shit like that, but it's also got storage side quests that are actually pretty good. Oh, Ghost of Tsushima, that's another one that counts in this conversation. That's got decent side content and an awful lot. Ghost of Tsushima's got so much shite bloaty content as well. Follow this fox, go up to this mountain and read a poem, press these buttons to cut bamboo, go and have a bath. Fuck off, side content. That kind of stuff. Blues of the Clan, a very slow burn initially, but after 4 or 5 hours it opens into something special, and that's where I didn't get before. I didn't get into the 4 or 5 hours. I did at least most of the snowy prologue in Red Dead Redemption 2, and I was like, can you tell me one more time to hold A to ride this horse beside someone, and I'm out. And then that's what happened. Off I went. Peter Morning, you just launched Quake 2 on the box, and it was like time travel. It's great that these old games still exist. You'll be looking into that again tomorrow. But Peter, imagine if rather than downloading it and launching it and time traveling in that way, imagine you put on a virtual reality headset and you were in Quake 2. Because you could do that, and it's amazing. Illegal Dad, you're thinking about playing the Ascent because you thought it would be like XCOM. It's definitely not like XCOM. It is not turn-based. It is more twin-stick shooter, but I do recommend playing it. I freaking love the Ascent. It's such a good game. So much better than Diablo 4. It's not that similar to Diablo 4, but it's more similar to Diablo 4 than it is to XCOM. Dave Mack, welcome along. What are you playing at the moment? Still Exo Primal, I bet. It's very common to bounce off of Red Dead Redemption 2. Yeah, but I'm like aware enough that so many people fall in love with it that it is worth pushing through that snowy prologue and getting into the game properly. And I tried, right? I installed Red Dead Redemption 2, all 120 gigs, is it? I can't remember because I've installed Baldur's Gate 3 as well. Many big games taking up much hard drive space, solid state space, you know. You've been playing Ratchet and Clank. What are you thinking of Ratchet and Clank so far? I got Red Dead Redemption 2 installed. I went to play it. I set up a stream. Isla made a thumbnail for me, scheduled it in. There were like people waiting to watch it. Went to fire up the game, and like you go into the Steam, you say there's Red Dead Redemption 2. I press play. It opens the Rockstar Social Club installer. Makes me install Rockstar Social Club. And I'm like, fucking secondary launchers fine. I'll go through the motions. Next. And then I launched it again, and it says, hello, T *** V at tk.ru or something. Log in to the social club. Which obviously I can't do because I am not this Russian person that has my Steam account linked to their Rockstar social club. And suddenly it all comes flooding back to me. The reason that I didn't play Grand Theft Auto 5 on the PC. Someone stole my Rockstar account. Linked it to Steam, stole all of my Rockstar content. My Steam account hasn't been hacked. That's clean and untouched and has two-factor authentication. It's all nice and safe. But someone has set up their own Rockstar Social Club account and somehow managed to link my Steam account to it despite not having access to my Steam account. So very, very much believe that the compromise is on Rockstar's side. But short version is I can't play Red Dead Redemption 2, and the only way to unlink the Steam account from the Rockstar Social Club is to log on to the Rockstar Social Club that the account is linked to. So I have to log on as the Russian that I don't know and unlink it from there, or raise a support ticket with Rockstar. Raised a support ticket with Rockstar, looked at their support article that said what information they needed, included all of that, screenshots from this, that and the other, bits and pieces from my Steam account. But they also ask for the name of the Rockstar social account that you want unlinked. So I have to provide them the username of the Russian's account that I do not know. I've got no idea what the username is. I cannot possibly in any world give them this bit of information. So they replied with a very like template-y, if you want to unlink it, please send us all of this information that you just sent. So I've sent it all back to them. I explained again, like, this is not my account. I cannot give you the username because I am not this Russian person. Give me my Steam account back, you bastards. And they've actually said, they said, if I do go ahead and unlink the account, I'm not going to be able to play Grand Theft Auto 5 or Grand Theft Auto Online. Even though I paid for those, that entitlement has already been claimed by the Russian, so I'm not allowed that back, which I should complain about. In theory, that's bullshit. It's my game, I paid for it. They should let me play it. But I already have Grand Theft Auto 5 on my own Rockstar social account anyway, so it doesn't matter. I just want them to give me my Red Dead Redemption 2. Got totally sidetracked into that story. Maybe the best thumbnail that you've ever made, except the Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah. Well, Boozy the Clown, I'm hoping that it's not fucked, because like any human being with an ounce of common sense will see the situation and give me my game. Especially as my Rockstar Social Club account and my Steam account do use the same email address. Like, it's very clear that it should be me that gets this content. But they do say it takes them up to like 48 hours to reply, so I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for them to give me Red Dead Redemption 2 in time to play when I get back from my holiday. Tony, Baldur's Gate 3 has interested you to play it, but Armored Core 6 is around the corner and you're not going to be unfaithful. Not today, Satan. F you, female dog. Well, Tony, it is difficult, isn't it? Baldur's Gate 3, Armored Core 6, a little Starfield here and there. I've decided I will be tempted. I'm just going to get all of those and try my best to play them as much as I can. I haven't started Baldur's Gate 3 yet. I have Baldur's Gate 3. I got it as soon as it came out. But it's the co-op side of it I really need to figure out, because I'm not going to play Baldur's Gate 3 by myself, play it in co-op like with my wife, and play it on stream in co-op. It's not going to happen. I need to pick one golden playthrough that involves as many people as I can and fits my stream schedule. So I'm gonna fit. What do you mean? What do you mean never mind? Yes, it can include you. I haven't spoken to my wife at the moment to invite her to see if she wants to be involved or not. I don't think she will, but I think she'll want to play it at some point. It's very tricky. And then I need to figure out, what do you mean, nah? Then I need to figure out how best to present it on stream, because you don't want to get in the way. No, it's not. No, I'm going to stream Baldur's Gate 3 either way, Isla. This is a separate thing. So that's a conversation that I'll have with her. Definitely want to stream the game, and I don't think that she'll be willing to participate. If she does, it would be silently. Anyway, this is like bits and pieces to try and organize. I haven't got... Yeah, I have not enough friends. Ideally, Baldur's Gate 3 I would play with 4 people. There's no way in hell that I can get 4 people that I can, like... that I can even slightly expect to turn up regularly for the 6 years that it's going to take to complete that game. I just haven't figured it out. There's going to be a golden option, or there's not even. There's going to be like a slightly brown tinted, terrible, ticks half of the checkboxes option, but it is my best bet, and I'm going to grab that one and go for it. I just need to figure out what that option is, and then I will play Baldur's Gate 3. Tony, you can definitely control all 4. You can play the game on your own. Baldur's Gate 3 can be played on your own. It will just be funnier and better to play with other people. It's just that it's circumstantially difficult to do that, because you need people that can play regularly on a schedule over the course of like 6 years for that to work. It's not drop in, drop out co-op. How many friends is too many or too few? I don't know, Peter. I've only lived the one life. I don't have the answers to profound questions like that. Illegal Dad, you were thinking if Xbox could team up with an established PC VR company, that way they can just worry about software and not sell their own hardware. Launch title like Half-Life Alyx, PSVR 2 dead. Xbox don't care for VR at the moment. It doesn't align with their Game Pass strategy. All I want from Xbox is for them to allow their games to support virtual reality in the PC space for the time being, and then they can wait for whatever metrics they've got internally before even considering it on console. I'd be fine with that. I don't want them to keep buying up developers that support virtual reality and then telling them not to support it anymore, because that sucks for me. Not at my crazy weekday times. Well, this is the issue, Dave. Timing is hard to get right. So you can't play the game without the other people. Once you've started a campaign with other people, you're going to play it with exclusively with those other people. It is a Dungeons and Dragons game. Equivalent of, like, if you imagine a tabletop campaign where you've all got your characters and your dice and you meet up every Wednesday lunchtime to set up the board and carry on the campaign for a bit. Baldur's Gate 3 is like that. So you don't play it by yourself, you play it as a team. You recognize this music? I would be surprised if you do recognize this music. That's some dedication. It is, Tony. That's why the split screen is so important in that game. No, the OST is not a repeat. That's why split screen matters, because for most people, Tony, their only chance of getting that level of dedication is going to be like whoever they live with, that you can plan around it like that. But like being able to play that game with a party of 4 would be like gaming Nirvana. It would be incredible, I'm sure. It would be such a good experience. It's just so impractical. Too much pressure? Who's panicking about what? Does Baldur's Gate 3 have the same gameplay as the original Sin games, because you love those games? So I've not played Baldur's Gate 3 yet. The reason that I'm excited about Baldur's Gate 3 is because I also loved the Divinity original Sin games. I think Baldur's Gate leans slightly heavier into the dice than the Divinity games did. It leans more into Dungeons and Dragons, so you have to enjoy that side of it. Dice throws and saving rolls and all of that kind of stuff is more heavily featured. But I think if you enjoy those, then I can't imagine you wouldn't enjoy Baldur's Gate 3. Like, it has so much in common with presentation and style. So I can't wait. Tony, can you start a game by yourself and then another for co-op? Yeah, I'm assuming you can have multiple campaigns on the go. But it's a long game. It's a long game. You can have multiple campaigns. There's quite a lot of like diversity available in how you build it and how you play through it. And you can have it like unfold in a very different way. It's just that each one of those games is a massive time sink in and of itself. So it's not practical to have 3 or 4 on the go. Not for me. Space Denison, you haven't tried Elden Ring VR. Your 2080s wouldn't handle it. Oh, okay. But you did do Dark Souls in VR, right? Has no feet, just sloppy edge bits. What are we talking about here? Some things I should not ask. What are we crying about, Isla? What's happening? And what are we panicking about? Is it the music? Because it's not that serious. It's okay not to recognize the music. I'm not expecting anybody to be able to recognize the music unless there's a track that I haven't noticed that like yells the name of the game over and over again. Which sometimes happens. Your blood hurts. Dark Souls ran beautifully, and like mechanically, it's fun in VR because you still play it in third person, right? Do you find yourself looking around much, or are you pretty much sitting fixated forwards and just playing it like a pancake game? Is it an old game? It is quite an old game. It is quite an old game. I think Tom has defeated Tony, which is interesting. It's vibey, that's why I chose it. I thought the vibes kind of fit the background. In places, at least. The background, like, the vibes don't fit the Ascent in general. It's not cyberpunky, but this particular kind of heavy machinery background, I thought it fits here. You loved it third person, lots of cool sights, cranes your neck up and down multiple times. What about turning though? Because I've not played any of, like, I played like Feral Rights and things like that, but I've not played any third person pancake to VR conversions to know at what point you look left and right and how the turning actually, like, it's a simple question in theory, but if I want my avatar guy or whatever to turn left, how does that function in virtual reality? Because Hellblade did weird things with it where turning your head around would also, like, gradually steer the character, which was mixed. But Dark Souls I don't think will do anything like that. I'm just not sure. Not sure how that works. I should definitely just install it and play it and find out. Anyway, what else are we talking about today? So I've not cohesively covered any particular topic that I had planned there, apart from I did want to talk about open worlds. So give me more. Tell me which open world games you love. We had Red Dead Redemption 2, we had Assassin's Creed Syndicate in particular, we've had Elden Ring. If you had to pick, and this is a question for anyone that dares to answer, if you had to pick a top 3 open world games, what would be your top 3 open world games? Lily would add, just 2% of PlayStation 5 owners have virtual reality. Should Sony still even bother supporting VR? Yes, they damn well have to, because they released that bit of hardware, and that 2% of owners spent a lot of money to own that headset. So yes, I think Sony have a responsibility to keep supporting it for a while. Space Citizen, you turn the camera just like in game. You don't remember quite what Hellblade did, but in Dark Souls it felt mostly jank free. Camera got stuck in the odd spot occasionally. I'm going to try it. I've never actually been through Dark Souls, so it's a good one for me to get the mod on and have a go at. Red Dead Redemption 2 was beautiful. Cyberpunk 20, Final Fantasy 15. Tony, you're disqualified from having opinions. Final Fantasy 15. How dare you? It's got a day and night cycle, right? I'll give it that. Fucking monster hunting bullshit. Drive your car around the bland, empty landscape to do your monster hunting. You're not really disqualified, but I'm surprised that you would list that as a top open world game. Not gonna lie, the way PlayStation VR 2 is going, you wonder if the PlayStation VR 3 is actually a possibility. So let's talk about PlayStation VR 2 while this open world topic. No, Tony, no. Final Fantasy 15 is not the best Final Fantasy. Was it your first one, Tony? Was it the first Final Fantasy game that you played? I can't remember. I know we've had this conversation. But is that where your Final Fantasy journey started? Elden Ring, Red Dead 2, Crysis for the time. Crysis is still... The main thing that I remember about the Crysis world is just like shooting trees. It had really nice tree destruction mechanics. So yeah, I'll take that. Crysis is cool. I've never actually played the first Stalker. Crysis is an interesting shout. Didn't expect that. Are we running? Are we flying? I'm not telling you. I see you'd played old Final Fantasies before deciding that 15 was your favourite. What a curious decision. You've played even less Final Fantasy than Gaz, maybe. No, actually, I think you played more than him, but... So Elden Ring is definitely a So no, there's not been any mention. Aha, until then. I was going to say, nobody's mentioned any Bethesda games so far in their open worlds, apart from, I mentioned it in terms of overlaying systems and dynamic happenings as you explore. Illegal Dad has just come in to say Bethesda Softworks has the best open world games. You never know what you'll find. That's the dynamic element that I was talking about earlier, which I very much appreciate. I'm hoping that Red Dead Redemption 2 captures a little bit of that, like, surprise factor. But I don't know. Whereas, like, Skyrim definitely does. I love exploring Skyrim. I need to play more Fallout. Fallout's VR conversion wasn't as solid as Skyrim's. Like, the modding community are still a little ways behind the Skyrim modding community. But doesn't it give you fantastic hope for Starfield? Just like knowing how good those games are and how those systems still hold up today. Yes, it does. Crysis was the start of the Ubisoft formula. Did Crysis... So, besides driving a car into some trees and shooting said trees and shooting a few people, I didn't take Crysis very seriously. Did it have, like, the Ubisoft map going on? Surely didn't. I don't remember it being, like, Ubisoft formula. I know you're saying it's the start of the formula, so it wouldn't be the Ubisoft formula, but as a starting point for them to jump off of. Ubisoft gradually messed it up but started out well. I have some sympathy for Ubisoft and how they landed on their formula, because it's fairly inevitable if you're going to be data driven and you're going to study, like, the Ubisoft formula isn't because they're boring dickheads. It's because they studied player data and retention to see how densely packed the world had to be to keep people interested in playing, and how they could extract time and money out of people, and how the story beats needed to unfold and all the rest of it. And the problem is that if you have this data-driven formula, it becomes a formula, and anything that is driven in that way by formula, and it's not just games, this happens in films as well, which is why people are gradually falling off of Marvel content. You follow a formula, as soon as it becomes clear enough for the audience to recognize that you're following a formula, then everything good about it falls away. And Ubisoft have gone deep into that era of game development. And it's difficult though, because if you are making games, you want a developer to learn lessons from previous games, to understand what people like and to capitalize on it. They just took it too far. And then out comes Elden Ring to completely disrupt their formula and say, actually, look what else you could do. Nowhere near as much map clutter. That got worse with every Far Cry game. Just like Nintendo. What's like Nintendo? Dave Mack, Assassin's Creed Black Flag. A lot of people love Black Flag. And you like Odyssey and Origins. So 3 Assassin's Creed games for your favorites. I do wonder if I should play Assassin's Creed. So do the more recent Assassin's Creed, so Valhalla and Odyssey, do they have any sort of dynamic systems? Or is it just big curated bloat? Fallout 3 was special. Hopefully Starfield can surprise us despite the in-depth showcases and daily leaks. Boozy the Clown, I avoid most like content for Starfield and any other game. Any game where I know I'm going to buy it, even though I'm supposed to like get on shows and talk about it, and I'll pay attention specifically for that purpose, but I will avoid trailers where I can. So I've avoided a lot of the detail around Starfield. I still, like, clearly from day one it was always going to be like Fallout in space, and it's still how I see it. Bigger and better and more impressive. So, oh damn! I hope the VR mods come quickly for it. No spoilers. Yeah, in terms of spoilers, I've got no idea what the story of Starfield is. Every like trailer and demonstration where they've been like introducing these factions or this element of the story, I've just closed my brain off and missed those. So, besides it being set in space, I know very little about it in terms of story, and I'm happy with that. That's like a good place to approach a game from, and just let it unfold and surprise me. Yes. Tom, you've never played them, but it's just some people would put. I was gonna say Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom like as open world games. So I've never played them because Nintendo have never discounted them. I'm not always terribly cheap, but it's not so much the case of whether or not I can afford a Breath of the Wild game. But on principle, I want Nintendo to discount these games after a certain number of years, and they don't. So I'm stubbornly refusing to buy them until they do. But from what I've seen of these games, they have. If they have any quality, it's got to be along the lines of Elden Ring, in that there's not a lot else that I can say positive about them. They are... Everything that I've seen is like sparse and empty and just grass. So whereas like Horizon Forbidden West is really densely packed and populated, there's like lush terrain everywhere, there's stuff jumping around, be it robot dinosaurs, be it people, be it wildlife. There's stuff everywhere. You never go far without things moving, and it's all really like just the formation of the land is really clearly designed intricately. I don't see that in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom when I watch them. I see empty green plains with shit looking enemies bouncing around every now and again, but never that many of them. And I'm saying this as an outsider that hasn't played it. But, so the way that I described Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom there, you could also, I think, fairly say that, like Elden Ring's not that densely populated. You never have to go far to find something interesting, but maybe if I actually played Breath of the Wild, it would have that quality to it, where you see an interesting thing constantly. And it leads you into adventure and discovery. Maybe that's what Zelda's good at. Is that what Zelda's good at? Or is it just horribly overrated shite? I don't know. Dave Mack, what graphics card do I use? A big one. Very big one. Peter, you're a BSW RPG version. What's... Oh, Bethesda Softworks. You never played any of them. Oh my days. And you're waiting all this time when you could jump on Fallout or Skyrim right now. That's exciting though. I'm not sure, have I ever finished a Bethesda Softworks game? That's a different question. I've not finished Skyrim. I've not got very far into Fallout at all. I think I finished Oblivion. I never did. So Oblivion had a really weird structure to the game in that you had a prologue sequence with Patrick Stewart that lasted like, I don't know, half an hour or something. And then when you get out of that prologue sequence, the portal to the final boss is in front of your face, essentially. You're not strong enough to go and do it. So it's got like a really flat structure. You go prologue, ending, side content. And the side content was brilliant. So I did a lot of side content. I'm pretty sure I finished the game, but Oblivion also had an expansion pack, Shimmering Isles. And I went to do the Shimmering Isles, and there's an introductory bit. When you first get on the scene of the Shimmering Isles, there's a house that turns into like... It's a lot of butterflies, but it was on the Xbox 360, so it was probably actually about 7 butterflies. A swarm of 7 butterflies the house turns into, and as they fly off, the Xbox 360 goes, holy fuck, this is hard. This is really hard. This is a lot of butterflies, and they're all flapping. And then it goes Red Ring of Death. So I got a Red Ring of Death from that game. I got a replacement Xbox 360, and I went to the House of Butterflies, and that replacement Xbox 360 went, oh, it's a lot of butterflies, you know? And they're flapping. Red Ring of Death. And I have not played Oblivion since the second console that it murdered. I'm pretty sure I finished it before I attempted the Shimmering Isles, though. Did I? Or did I not? Maybe I've never finished a Bethesda game. I will eventually get through Skyrim, though. I love playing Skyrim in VR. I just keep seeing shiny new mods to change it. Like the ChatGPT mods at the moment. I'm not going to do those. I want to finish Skyrim before I embrace changing all of the characters to AI. conversationalist. 4090, yes, I got 4090 at the moment via many bank loans. It's delicious. Murder baby eats butterflies. Boo. Your cat, yeah, cats like things that move, right? It's not even for sustenance, they just eat stuff. Wasn't Sean Bean in Oblivion? Was Sean Bean in Oblivion? I know Patrick Stewart was. Like, very distinct voice right at the opening. Unless I'm completely wrong and I'm remembering like an idiot, I'm probably going to be humiliated with my misinformation, but Patrick Stewart is what I remember. You had to step away for a bit. Have I talked about my Atlus Fallen time yet? I forgot, So Shady. I forgot that I played Atlus Fallen. Did you step away to play Atlus Fallen? AI sucks. That's a weird take. I'm not talking about the AI that you're concerned about that steals art or whatever. I'm talking about conversational AI. In Skyrim's case, that's like context-sensitive conversational artificial intelligence. And it doesn't suck, it's cool. It sucks in that it can be a little bit slow and janky to use. You just decided to hate it in general. Yeah, I don't. I love it. You wish AI did suck. Oh no. So I can read that two ways, Baz. I can read it as like AI's threatening your current job security, or I can read it like, you know, like you probably meant it. So Shady, unfortunately not yet. It's calling to you though. Well, okay, so Atlus Fallen. Let's bring up a trailer for Atlus Fallen. Haven't had a trailer for a little while. Atlus Fallen is from Focus Interactive, and I can't remember what dev studio, but Focus Interactive are the publisher. It's a two-player co-op hack and slash game, basically. Trailer. You're not the trailer, you're all reviews. I recommend if you are on the fence about whether to buy it or not, go and watch ACG's review of it. He actually likes it more than I do, I think, but check the review anyway because his reviews are good. Here is a launch trailer. So I played Atlus Fallen on the PC on my 4090. Performance was inconsistent, I'll say. Oh, Deck 13 made it. Okay. Deck 13 made the first Lord of the Fallen, right? Could be wrong. Tony, we'll get to Overwatch 2 next. Remind me if I forget. In Atlus Fallen, you play some guy of your own creation who gets a gauntlet that hosts an ancient power. That ancient power talks to you and stuff, but mostly its feature is that it has power over sand. And the way that plays out is you can see on the screen at the moment the sand skating and things like that, but how to describe the sand powers are quite interesting. So you can like summon weapons of various types. You still have to find the weapon type before you can use it, but you summon weapons rather than carry them. So as you execute your strikes, the weapon materializes, as you can see, and you smack stuff with it. But you still need to equip two different types. So you'll have like your X button will be one weapon and your Y button will be the other. And you mush them and do typical kind of hack and slash combat. And you traverse using sand and you survive using sand. And the set of powers is quite neat. The co-op gameplay is quite neat. But mechanically, it feels fairly old. The way that the puzzles are structured feels generation behind. But its biggest flaw that you're going to struggle with when you start it, I think it eases off as the game goes off. So as you swing the game more from conversations to action, it'll improve a lot, I think. But the opening of the game has a lot of very low quality conversations. Only getting 240p, so it's looking crap on your side. Well, don't blame the stream quality for the game. Like it's not going to be 240p if you actually do get it and play it. The opening sequence, though, it has like this real B-tier quality to it that's quite hard to put your finger on like why it grates quite as much as it does in structure and voice acting and all the rest of it. But it really freaking grates. It's really hard to get through the opening. Like, do you know how if you played Outriders, if you compare like Outriders to Gears of War or something, and Gears of War has this cinematic delivery, whether you like the characters or not, it's like impactful the way that everything is shown and delivered. Whereas Outriders, the characters are kind of bland and annoying. This is several notches below Outriders in terms of delivery of cinematics and story. So it's quite painful to get through those elements of it. But I've only played it for like an hour and a half or so. So a lot of that time was unfortunately that chatting to NPCs badness. I think if you progress through it and you get into the co-op side of it, then you've probably got a mid-tier, decent, enjoyable action game. If that makes sense. And I should really should play it a bit more to, like, don't consider this a review because I have literally only played it for an hour and a half or so. But yeah, the opening impressions are not brilliant. But there definitely is some potential to the combat. Some potential to the combat. You're on auto at the minute. Ask Dreamcast guy, hang about. I wouldn't ask Dreamcast guy about anything. Because all I will get is bait. Well, speaking of bait, by the way. Eurojank dialogue. Yeah, that kind of covers it. That kind of covers it. So speed through that. It really is a game where if you can skip the dialogue options, then just skip them. Just skip them. So, speaking of bait, did you notice that Twitter has these payouts at the moment and everyone's being excessively more of a dickhead than usual? Careful of that. It's very deliberate. Which is why we were talking about... It's not why we were talking about. I don't want to conflate this and call certain people dickheads when that's not what I mean. We were talking about... Stream quality has dropped. Stream quality, if you're on auto, then it will just adjust according to your connection. My stream, I couldn't change the quality midway through, even if I wanted to, I don't think. That's not strictly true, but I wouldn't. Where was I? So, first we'll talk about, so if you're on Twitter or X, if you prefer, in theory, revenue sharing that Elon has introduced should be like the only good thing that he's done since taking over at Twitter, because it's something that has always been planned as part of Game On Daily. This is top secret, by the way, nobody knows this, but it's always been planned. If Game On Daily were to make any revenue sharing would be a big part of it. Elon's done it at Twitter, but the result of it is just that people with a large following just want to bait harder. Which is why you'll be seeing terrible interactions all over Twitter at the moment. Because people want to get paid for engagement, so they're trying extra hard. I'm just saying some of the dumbest shit. It's such a horrible place as a result. It's sad to see. Like, it's I guess for me it's like interesting learning experience, but to see the consequences of what should be a positive action just because people are people. So, if you see people saying something on Twitter that seems totally obnoxious or like just gets your blood boiling a little bit, just move on. That's what they want. They want you to respond to correct them so that they get paid. Which is not too nefarious, right? Everyone likes to get paid, but it's just making a cesspit more of a cesspit. Which leads me on to, and I'm not overly conflating this. I don't know that IGN's Ryan McCaffrey is playing this game in particular. I know other people that are playing this game, but I don't know that he is. He came out with a post, and I think an IGN article as well, saying that he doesn't like PlayStation VR 2 anymore. Yes, Dave Mac, that kind of thing. He doesn't like the PlayStation VR 2 anymore because there's no games for it, I think he said was the gist of the content. And it's a stark contrast because when PlayStation VR 2 came out, he was actually a surprise advocate for it. he loved Gran Turismo 7 on PlayStation VR 2 and said, actually, this is brilliant and everyone should try it. A few months later, he's saying, I don't like the PlayStation VR 2 anymore. Sony aren't supporting it. Like, there's no games for it. Which is a take. It's not. It's definitely got people to react, because you're always going to get like a slew of people on the Xbox side that are like, yes, bad VR article, I hate VR because I like Xbox and all that stuff. You always get that crowd, and you're going to get the PlayStation fans backs up as well, who are like, oh, there's 160 games. I don't know how many games there are. There's like this many games. It's clearly not true. You can't possibly say there's no games when I can count this many games. And it just gets like the extreme reactions on both sides. So I have PlayStation VR 2. I also, unlike most people that have PlayStation VR 2, I also have a far better virtual reality setup on the side, but I really like the PlayStation VR 2 as a headset. And I wish it every success, because more VR content is good for me. And it is a good headset, so Sony have done well with delivering it. But the criticism of it not having games is not entirely unfair. I think PlayStation VR 2 game releases are pretty frequent, and there's some decent stuff. You've got Green Hell VR comes out this week. You've got Firewall Ultra comes out it's on the 24th, so a couple of weeks time. You've got Crossfire coming out this month. You've got like a decent slate of games coming out, and it's been like that for the months that it's been out. So you had Synapse last month. What else has been good? I don't know. There's been like a reasonable smattering of games, and for a new bit of hardware that has an audience that's tiny, it's more games than you would expect. It's more games than can possibly be profitable to make. What it really lacks for me, though, and I said this like on Twitter, and I'll say this elsewhere, and I'll keep on saying it. What's hurting excitement for the device is that Sony won't tell anyone what they're doing with it. So people are looking at it, desperate to see that Sony are going to support it going forward. And if you were to ask me like what big game Sony have got planned for PlayStation VR 2, I'd have to give you a blank stare, because besides Firewall Ultra that they're publishing on the 24th, they've not mentioned a single virtual reality game coming in the future. And Sony have an absolute responsibility to support the device and get people excited and get people feeling confident that if they spend this money, they're going to keep getting games for it for the next few years. But they're not doing that at the moment. And that's not entirely unique to PlayStation VR 2 though, because if you ask me the same question, if you say what have Sony got coming for the PlayStation 5, I'll give you a similarly blank stare. Like, they mentioned Wolverine coming in 100 years time. They've got Spider-Man 2 this year, and they showed some shitty CGI trailers for terrible games as a service games, right? So Sony have been like not very open in what's coming in the future, whether that be virtual reality or Pancake. It's just that people give them the benefit of the doubt on Pancake games, because of course they're doing them. They're Sony, they always do Pancake games. What else are they going to do with their time? Whereas in virtual reality space, they haven't earned that credit. So when they don't mention a single virtual reality game in development, you don't give them the benefit of the doubt on that, because they haven't earned it. So that's not the same as saying that it's got no games. The thing's like 3 or 4 months old, and it's got a lot of games for hardware that's that old. The economics of releasing a virtual reality game are very challenging, because it's got at most like 1 million people in the audience. So that has to be a consideration in budgets for games for everybody that isn't Sony, that isn't trying to push the platform. My hope is, and I've said this before, but my hope is that I think Sony have made really, really smart decisions on the PlayStation VR 2 to be technically able to support hybrid development with their major first-party games, to support virtual reality in their big Pancake games. Like, very similar to Gran Turismo 7 and very similar to what Capcom have done for them in Resident Evil. The device can do that. Like, the software is smartly designed to be able to deliver those Pancake games in virtual reality without too many horrific trade-offs to the visuals. They can do it. Are they going to? It's impossible. You can't be confident because they've not told us that they're going to. So Illegal Dad, in their recent financials, they say they may delay first-party games. They have delayed, yeah, out of 2023/early 2024, whatever games they had in that window, they have had some delayed, yes. And we don't know what those are. We don't know whether any of them support virtual reality at all. Sony own Insomniac, the studio that made 4 Oculus exclusives. And they own other studios that I would support it. So Shady, you feel personally attacked whenever I say pancake game. But, So Shady, do you not like pancakes? Do you have a wheat allergy? Or a milk? Are you lactose intolerant? Because if you like pancakes, you can't be offended when I say pancake game. And I like pancakes. I think everybody likes pancakes. So, you know, I will call them pancake games, and I don't mean that that's a bad thing. Like, I've been talking today about how much I enjoyed Horizon and how much I enjoy The Ascent. These are pancake games. Good pancakes, delicious pancakes. But as you keep getting OnlyFans advertising their stuff on Twitter, that's a whole nother issue, right? Jason Schreier, who blocked 99% of Twitter, won't be getting paid much. That would be an interesting test, Tony, wouldn't it? Is Jason Schreier going to start unblocking people to secure that bag? Probably not, but you think he might have cleaned his headset before taking the photo? John Rocks, he probably added dust specifically, like went around the rest of his house collecting dust to put on the headset to make a point. Pazzy, you're on the orange Fanta. I've not had orange Fanta for so long. I'll stick to the wine for the time being. Sony should just push hard for third-party in VR. See, I think they should be pushing hard for hybrid development. I think that's the only... VR's in a really difficult place because it wrestles with expectations that have been set in the pancake world. Like, people are used to spending... People are upset by 70 quid, but people are upset that they have to spend 70 quid on a game like Horizon Forbidden West or Last of Us Part 2. Like, they're upset that they have to spend 70 quid on a game that has a budget of 200 million. But they expect that standard of game in virtual reality. And if you have a budget of 200 million for a virtual reality game with an audience of like 1 million people, that game's going to cost hundreds of pounds. People won't expect it because their expectations are already defined by what they get on their consoles. So it's in a difficult place, and you can't ask third party to fill that void. The only people that have an incentive to fill that void are Sony, like Sony and potentially Meta and Valve, like the platform holders, have more of an onus to develop flagship content, to change the economics of it and build that audience and make it a viable system to release big games on. And it's not like virtual reality's fault. It's not necessarily a problem that it doesn't support massive games yet, but it's not there, and like the audience is small. So the kind of games that we're getting, when you get Green Hell VR and you get Synapse, that's where virtual reality is at the moment. That's realistic, and not really something to scoff at. Give it time, let the audience grow, and third parties can make a VR dedicated game with a high budget, but it wouldn't make any sense to do that at the moment, which is why hybrid development is so important, which is why being able to make a pancake game and have it fully playable on a flat screen or in virtual reality, then the economics are different. Then you've got something that is viable. But viable, like, even then, if you're a publisher, just because it's viable doesn't mean it's like path to most profit. So again, it's like onus on Sony. Sony have to do this. Sony have to lead the way alongside Meta, alongside potentially Valve. They have to, and I say lead the way, I mean their own development studios obviously, but also chuck a bag to Capcom, chuck a bag to Square Enix. Like, virtual reality mode in Final Fantasy 14 isn't going to pay for itself, but we'll give you 200,000 to make it real. Trust me, if you're watching this stream, you'll start drinking again. Why would you say that? Is it true that Microsoft funded the development of Insomniac's engine? Well, I very much doubt they funded it directly, but they funded Sunset Overdrive, which is what the engine was made for. So in that sense, like, there's definitely truth in there, yeah. And that makes sense. They were very good with Insomniac, so back in those days, Microsoft were like very keen to work with any third parties, which is why they like let Insomniac keep the Sunset Overdrive IP, which was quite unusual, as those kind of business deals went in the time. Yeah, for some reason I read that. Q&Asa, I read you mainly drink drug-flavored water, but I don't know where I got the drugs from. There's no mention of them in there. You quit drinking alcohol 8 years ago. That is good. I don't like excessively drink, but I do like a little glass of wine. A little glass of wine, and this stuff is mostly sugar. It tastes of Ribena. Very nice wine. Fetus gaming is when you hook yourself up to peripherals like I do. Fetus gaming on my treadmill. Kmed, yes, I'm definitely the most civilized person in this room right now. Being the only person in here. Wine that tastes like Ribena doesn't count as civilized. Counts as dangerous. What are you playing, Kmed? And are you chasing the Twitter bag? Are you going to turn into a massive Twitter troll? Shitty seltzers and rum and coke. I do like a rum and coke. I've got cherry rum and cherry coke is my current overly sweet, delicious alcoholic beverage when I run out of Ribena wine. You just finished a short hike. I was looking at some of the Game Pass stuff the other day that looks really short, thinking, hey, I can fit in a little bit of what's that game with the Tamil that Gaz was talking about, the Tamil family cooking game, and a short hike. There was a list of little games like this that were really short, that I was thinking I could fit in these really short games. I can weave that in between Red Dead Redemption 2 and Baldur's Gate 3 and Starfield, and now I bloody well can't. There's no time in life for anything. Boba Fett Gaming, brother from a UK mother, yes. Welcome as well. How are you doing and what are you playing? How long did it take, Kmed, to finish a short hike? I like little games sometimes, but even little games, it's hard to find the time. Q&Asa, you used to be a vodka drinker, so you could start drinking again with the price these days. I've not looked at the price of vodka. It's definitely not a favourite of mine. I can drink vodka, I guess, but potato juice, not for me. You thought about the cooking game, but then you thought life is too short. Life is too short to play a game for an hour or two? No, Peter. You got time to do that rather than Persona 5. Baz, you want to complete Cyberpunk and Dead Island 2? I forgot all about the existence of Dead Island 2. Cyberpunk, I was happily playing on stream and enjoying it. I was playing it in super, what do they even call it? Ray tracing overdrive mode. I was playing it fully path traced. It was delicious and pretty. And then I went, you know what's going to be even more delicious? Cyberpunk in virtual reality. So I installed the virtual reality mod, botched the game settings completely, got it vaguely working in virtual reality. Not working quite well enough to play yet. It's a few like weird settings that make it look a little bit less solid than it should, like some glitchy lighting and things like that. So I thought I'm going to tweak this and get it working in VR. Haven't picked it up and done that yet. So my Cyberpunk playthrough is on pause until I fix my shit. But oh well. Dead Island 2 was so much fun. And that's not very long, right? That's got to be like a 10-hour game, hopefully. And even if you don't finish Dead Island 2, you can take a lot of like joy from smashing zombies up, hopefully. So I could get into Dead Island 2, play it a bit, cause some carnage, never finish it, and that will be okay. Play Cyberpunk this weekend. I'm on holiday this weekend, Tony. I'm not even going to do Go Live this weekend, so I will not play Cyberpunk this weekend. I will get it working eventually. Kmed, it's a really good game, Cyberpunk. Do play it. Wait until the changes with Phantom Liberty, but do play it. Is Cyberpunk worth playing? You bought it day one, it was broken, and you've never touched it since. It became worth playing on patch 1.5, I think. The point in time where it got its re-release on PlayStation. The Xbox and the PlayStation version at that point both became very good games, and the PC version obviously. But it's about to become a lot better. in is it October? September or October the Phantom Liberty comes out. Definitely keep it, have it installed, give it a play, because Cyberpunk is a really good game. Boycott Ghost Life, that's controversial. Controversial indeed. Gaz is going to attempt to run it. I've given him all of the tools and all of the training to be able to run the show by himself. So, cast judgment if he fails. Dead Island 2 is like 22 hours for you. Yeah, but I don't need to finish it. I can do that cathartic release, as you say there. Tony, I talk about having people to play Baldur's Gate 3 with, but then I skip out on the live show on Saturday. That doesn't apply. Gaz doesn't play games with me. We are betrayed. Who's been betraying us? Baz, you love Cyberpunk at the minute. I was very much enjoying Cyberpunk while I was playing it. There's like the world is dense, but when you're going through the missions and stuff, it has a quality to it. The combat is fun, the destruction is fun. There's a lot of good stuff there. Gaz is deep into producing his Twitter content. Well, I wasn't gonna name that. No. Gaz might be slightly wanting to farm for Twitter revenue, but he's not who I was referring to earlier. Twitter is quite a place for bait. Still looks nice on Xbox. Yes, Cyberpunk does look nice on Xbox. Did I do a video on Cyberpunk? I'm sure I did. Yeah, I did a tech analysis on Game On Daily on patch 1.5, showing Cyberpunk on the PlayStation and the Xbox, and recommending that people do play it. Like I said, it has tied it up very nicely indeed. That's a real video. Those are a thing I can do sometimes. What else have we got? So we talked about PlayStation VR 2 enough, I think. Like, broadly, you all know. Why do I keep saying like? That's not even a thing that I do. Talked about PlayStation VR 2, which wasn't really a topic. We talked about what makes a good open world game. I'm not sure we got answers per se, but we talked about it and that's good enough. Tony needs a mental day off from work to recover from my absence. Yeah, it's going to be hard for everybody. I know it is. Eradication as well. Welcome. It's going brilliant. I'm very hyped for Starfield. My plan for it, definitely slow burn. I'm still working my way through Skyrim, so Starfield's not going to be quick. I am VR nerd, so I'm going to play Starfield either way, but my ideal scenario is that the modding community gives it to me in virtual reality on day one, and I play it in there. Okay, mate, you're going to play Starfield with your pants off for so many hours. Me too. Are you American? Need to be very clear about what's dangling where here, because I might do the same, but I do tend to stream on a treadmill. I might get my channel shut down if we have the wrong kind of pants here. You're American. Okay, we're talking different things. I might dress decently and stream Starfield. You tweeted a controversial tweet. That's unlike you. Space junk, yes. You're playing Starfield after you finish Armored Core 6 Game of the Year. Wouldn't it be something if it really is a contender for Game of the Year as well? I'm excited for Armored Core 6 as well, Tony. I still think it's going to be side game though. It's going to be game that I go and do a mission on every now and again. Oh yeah. Stream it when I run out of ideas of what to stream, you know. It's not going to supplant Starfield and Baldur's Gate 3 and Red Dead Redemption 2. For me, probably. And you can laugh if it turns out that I play it more. You're going to shut the stream down if you see anything inappropriate? Yes, please do. Thank you. No, don't shut the stream down if Tony says anything inappropriate, or I'll never be able to stream. It'll be very difficult in that situation. Because, you know, sometimes he gets horny. Let's talk about melting PlayStation 5s. This isn't really a topic, so we'll burn through this one quicker than you can burn through a USB port on a PlayStation 5. I've not equipped PNSD in Baldur's Gate 3. No, I haven't. I've not even looked at the options because I've not started Baldur's Gate 3 yet. Your message has got me curious though. What? I don't know. I'm not gonna forget what you just said then. Shut the stream down if Tony says something inappropriate. If Tony says something that is appropriate, yes. I'd rather, actually, if possible, please don't shut the stream down unless something is drastically wrong. So, you've probably seen the reports that at EVO, the esports fighting game event, EVO being owned by Sony, esports event, tournaments on various fighting games. Being a Sony-owned event, most of these tournaments took place using PlayStation 5s, and there were many reports. I've only seen one, but apparently numerous reports that people's fighting sticks, arcade sticks and pads and controllers have been causing troubles in USB ports on PlayStation 5s. Ejected too quickly, heat caused plastics to melt, and USB ports came to pieces or left the console or damaged the cable on the controller. Has anyone seen this story? Is anyone worried about their PlayStation 5? Evening, Lost Boomer. I saw you playing Ash. What's the game called? You know the one. You were hitting stuff. Ashen? It's not just Ashen. I can't remember the name of the game. That's it. Saw you play. Okay, so it's just called Ashen. I'm just having a funny moment. I saw you playing that. That was more interesting to watch. I didn't like Ridge Racer 2 so much, but Ashen was quite interesting. It looked quite nice on stream. Came across well. I'm not going to play it, but it came across quite well. Illegal Dad, what? It's the first that you're hearing about this. Well, do you need to be worried though? Do you need to be worried about the PlayStation 5? K-Med has no worries. Those dudes are greasy as fuck, jerking off their sticks under blankets and living in basements. You bet their shit was broken from the start. So, my PlayStation 5 has had every single USB port occupied since launch, pretty much. I've got key lights plugged into it. I've got the USB headset plugged into the USB-C port. I've got a steering wheel adapter plugged in the back, and I've got... What is that? I think that's a fan. I might have a fan plugged into it. And I've got a charging... So the cable that's currently plugged into a key light, I also use for charging my controller. I've never had an issue with the USB ports heating up. The difference, though, is I don't think anyone at EVO would have had a problem, but for the fact that a lot of people are ejecting controllers. So there's a lot of like hot swapping going on, where people are playing a game against someone and then going off to a different round of the event or a different game or all the rest of it. And they are yanking controllers out of the ports on a more regular basis than you typically would. Keep your PlayStation 5 horizontal. I will not. It's standing vertically. And it's happy. It looks happy. It looks fucking ugly, if we're being honest. But it's happy enough vertical. None of the USB ports have caused me a problem. I don't pull cables out of them very often. If you're a normal person using the console at home, I don't think you need to panic about this USB issue. If you are attending fighting tournaments, you're attending EVO or any other esports event, and you're taking your own controller, just be a little bit careful when you unplug it. Treat it... I'm not going to go there. Treat it nicely. Pull it out gently, so that you don't rip the port out entirely. Don't yank too hard with your hot overused ports. Exactly, Tom. Yes, Tony, stick it in slowly and just the once. And yes, highly yanks. So you're not allowed to go to fighting tournaments. And also, yeah, Lost Boomer, yours is horizontal and your X is, but it's hidden behind the TV on shelves that you made. So I've never been a fan of the look of consoles in general. I like that the Series X is very bland and unassuming. It just sits there fairly unnoticed. The PlayStation 5 is like, look at me, fucking giant white shithead. And I don't like the look of it so much. But it is standing vertically and it still works. You want to fight. Good. Illegal Dad, I'm assuming, yeah, you're talking about the liquid metal on the sock. I don't... If it breaks, it breaks, but it hasn't so far. That's all I have on liquid metal. I've not like looked at it open, but I don't think that's a big concern. PlayStation 5 was said to have overheating issues since it came out, and you're not sure why people are surprised. But Tony, it was said to have that, and it's never manifested in any real way. It's not... I think people wanted it to be true, that this thing was going to overheat everywhere. And you get sporadic issues, like one journalist's PlayStation 5 shut down when they were playing Final Fantasy 16. It's not a widespread problem. It's just not, so. Consoles break. Mine will probably break sometime. Only crashing on Final Fantasy 16. Yeah, I mean, coil noise on the other hand, that would upset me more. Did you have coil noise from day one, Baz, or has it kicked in recently? Aye, what are you doing, Island? It's not happened again. Don't type as me in my chat. It's confusing. I know you said you want to fight, but that's not the way to go about it. Okay, mate, you do some Sony support on the side, and the overheating issues tend to be PSU related. That's interesting. But they're isolated considering how many there are out there. That's interesting that it's PSU related, because it doesn't draw a huge amount of power. Oh, Tony, don't. If that's my Russian hacker friend who's like seen that I'm trying to recover Red Dead Redemption 2 and has come for revenge by taking my YouTube channel, then I'll say goodbye to everyone now, because I don't think I'll be getting it back. Lost Boom, you have monthly coverage that costs you £4.50 a month. You know what? My PlayStation 5, I'm fairly confident, is going to last at least until the Pro comes out. And when that happens, I don't care if it melts. That's fine. Just needs to last until it gets replaced. And it's going to. That's not funny. Get out. It is funny, but please stop. Tom, are you and Tony having rum sessions together? You mean like the steak, right? It's got to be the steak. Yeah, he means steak. Punani is also a type of steak. I'm sure of it. We're talking steak. Tom loves cooking things. Let's do... What else did we have as topics? There was something else PlayStation. Was there something else PlayStation? No, not really. They had fiscal results of some kind. Depending on who you look at, like what you read, it was either terrible or good. Whatever. Does anybody have anything that they want to say about Sony's fiscal bollocks? Did anyone find the numbers exciting? Was anyone impressed or disappointed by sales of the PlayStation 5 or revenue from image sensors? I don't know. I play games, really. I'm not that interested in fiscal results. Lost Boomer, they send you game share vouchers. Just pay for a Starfield upgrade with them, so it only costs you £1.50. So you're going to get the 5-day early access, right? Ooh, you could be the modder. You could be the 5-day early access modder that gets virtual reality working in time for me on day one. That's what I want. I wonder if I'm going to need to buy that game on Steam to mod it properly. Hopefully not. Boba Fett, you never had a console go on you, not even the 360. I lost 3 Xbox 360s, but you've had the right bumper and the stick drift on 2 Elites. So my Elites have been perfectly fine. Got an Elite Series 1 and Elite Series 2 and never had an issue with those. So I'm fortunate on the Elite. But like I said earlier, Elder Scrolls Oblivion, Shimmering Isles, the Butterflies took 2 of my Xbox 360s. To be fair, it didn't cost me anything. They got replaced by Microsoft. One of them went in the initial warranty and one of them went in the extended warranty. So I had no trouble getting them back very quickly. I've actually still got the Xbox 360 that I've still got is one of the launch models. It doesn't have an HDMI port. Like I have a proper... It was my 4th Xbox 360. It must have been a refurb, but it has no HDMI port, so it's an ancient Xbox 360. Maybe if I try and play as like an experiment, if I try and play the Elder Scrolls Oblivion and go to the Butterfly House, maybe it will melt just like the others. I'm not going to do it. It would pain me too much. You had 8 Xbox 360s? You mean for like a Halo LAN party? Or you just kept breaking them? Because that is quite a number of Red Ringer deaths. Tom, you can't claim Tony's a bad influence. Yeah, you've always been like that. I believe it. PC, you've been lucky on every console. You've been lucky. Every console has never failed. Did you have an Xbox 360? Your kids. So I've got a Sega Saturn that still works. I've got, what's that at the bottom? I've got actually a console here that I don't recognize right now. What is that? What is that? Nope, I'm going to need to find out. Wait there, everybody. I don't know what I've got. I thought so. It's the OG Xbox One. I've got one of those down there for some reason. The original Xbox One still works. I've got a Dreamcast that still works. I've got a Sega Saturn that still works. I've got a PlayStation 3 launch model that has the back compat for the PlayStation 1 and 2. That still works. I had a PlayStation 2 that failed. The yellow light of death. I haven't got that anymore. And I had a PlayStation 1 that had to be used upside down because of the lens falling issue. But that it still worked. It just needed to be upside down, and I don't know where that is anymore. So yeah, I've not had terrible luck with consoles. Tony, you still got a Neo Geo. Oh, you have Neo Geo that you picked up from Japan. Fancy. Lost Boomer, a VIC-20 you started with when you were 8. I'm not going to go into my console history right now. I've told that before, and people will just get mad and bored at hearing the same story again. But Boba Fett, you had a few Nintendos you had to jam the cartridges into. Does that count? No, you didn't have to jam them in. You had to blow the dust out, you know? And then everything was fine. I had another topic. Let me just check my list. And by my list, I mean the YouTube description, because that's the only place I made any note of it. Open worlds, we're done. PlayStation VR 2, we're done. PlayStation 5's melting, we're done. PlayStation's 4K streaming. Let's really briefly go over that then. We're right near, like, getting towards the end of the show now. I'm not going to tell you the story again. You can ask another time on another show. So, PlayStation 5 streaming. Sony have just introduced, or it's in beta, or I don't know who has access to it and who doesn't, but they've just introduced streaming to the PlayStation 5 at 4K. You can stream anything that is available in the PlayStation Plus Premium subscription, and you can stream the games that you own, which they had said was coming, and has pretty small use case scenario. Not many people are going to be streaming these games, but you can. The surprise for everyone that we found out today or yesterday is that it supports 4K streaming, which is a significant upgrade over the quality of PlayStation Now as it was, and the PlayStation 3 streaming that's been available up to this point. Who has used a game streaming service? What have you used, and what has your experience been like? That's my first question. Well, I suppose there's going to be some games that are 4K, but this is talking about this is the streaming resolution, so it's encoding a 4K picture in much the same way as the PlayStation 4. If you've set it to the PlayStation 5, if you set it to output a 4K, it's going to send a 4K signal to your TV regardless of the rendering resolution. This is more equivalent to that. So it's going to encode a 4K picture and send it over the internet to your PlayStation 5, regardless of, like, you might be playing Final Fantasy 16 at 720p, but you're getting a 4K signal is what they're promising you with 4K streaming. So Lost Boomer, you do use it on the Xbox to try games out. How do you find it? Do you find it reliable? Do you find it responsive? Do you find it looks decent? Joe, your xCloud as well, you tried it a few times, but it's been absolutely shit. Interesting. Tony, don't forget, we're going to look at Overwatch 2 shortly. Don't let me forget, because I've forgotten 3 times already. Awful compression artifacts and unacceptable lag. What kind of connection, Joe? Have you got, like, do you think this is because you have a shite connection where you are, or do you think the service is always going to be bad? Joe, you played some PlayStation 3 streaming on the PlayStation 5, and that was also shit. So I played a little bit of all of them, actually. I played a little bit of around the time that Forza Horizon 5 launched. I wanted to record some cloud footage for a video, but Forza Horizon 5 didn't immediately go onto the cloud service, so I played Forza Horizon 4 instead, but at the point that 5 came out. xCloud has had some improvements since then, but not substantial ones. Played that at 1080p. There was a lot of banding. It was responsive and playable, but there was a lot of compression and a lot of color banding, so it wasn't very nice in that sense, and it didn't support HDR either. I'm pretty sure it didn't support Dolby, like any surround sound codecs, so it was stereo sound. 1080p, but not a nice 1080p. Lots of color banding and lots of compression artifacts. It wasn't very nice. I also was a lifelong subscriber to Google Stadia. Not my life, it was Google Stadia's life. I subscribed to Google Stadia for Google Stadia's life. Stubbornly waiting to see who cancelled first between me and Google, and I won that battle. Google cancelled first. They exited the relationship. But I played Google Stadia, and Google Stadia supported 4K streaming like Sony are now offering. And it worked very well. It wasn't as good as playing natively. The biggest issue being, so it genuinely could stream a decent 4K signal. It genuinely was very responsive on the games that I played, but it did have color banding, and it did have, particularly in dark areas, it had quite a bit of compression. So the game Guilt is, you can get it on everything now, but for the first like year or two it was Stadia exclusive, like cartoon horror game, and it was particularly dark, and I'd look up at the sky in that game and there will be like quite distinct bands of color and compression, but it was otherwise, it was really freaking impressive tech. Google Stadia worked really, really well. Failed for various reasons that I'm sure most of you are aware of. It was, yeah, of course, Baz, I had to try it. Google Stadia did a lot right. In fact, if it was still around, if Google Stadia was still up today, they would have just released Baldur's Gate 3 as a pretty freaking massive exclusive. Not exclusive, because it was going to be PC as well, but Baldur's Gate 3 was supposed to be PC and Stadia. Wasn't supposed to come to consoles. Google had that one locked down. Then Stadia went away. Then Baldur's Gate 3 came to other platforms. But it was really convenient and really very usable. It wasn't as good as playing natively, but it's I considered it very equivalent to Netflix. I didn't buy anything, Baz. No money to get back. I had the subscription for like £9 a month or whatever it was. I didn't buy a single game because I didn't expect Google Stadia to survive. And I didn't buy the hardware because it's played on my PC. So no money to claim back from it. But it's very much like, so if you watch something on Netflix is like, oh, it's 4K, it's Dolby Vision, it's like HDR10, whatever else. It's got all of these features, but it is still streamed. It still doesn't look as good as a Blu-ray. Like, no matter what features and HDR they throw at it, it looks really, really nice in certain scenes. You get a still of a city and you can go, wow, that looks really pristine and crisp. And then you get some motion and everything looks a little bit shite. Stadia was very equivalent in that if Netflix was a good enough watching experience for someone, then Stadia was probably a good enough playing experience for that same audience. If you're like real picky, like I am, and you notice compression artifacts and you hate color banding and you want the best of the best, then it didn't compare to like a PC or a console. You know, people claimed all their money back when they closed. Must have lost millions. So they refunded purchases, not subscriptions. It would have lost millions because they had freaking good technology behind it. Technology that Microsoft own now. Bethesda and ZeniMax provided the low latency technology that allowed their 4K streaming. And a lot of research and a lot of development went into it. So yeah, it would have cost them a lot to close it down, but it would have cost them a lot more to keep it open. Was it better than GeForce Now? I doubt it. I haven't used GeForce Now myself, but GeForce Now, painful discourse. Thank you for spending all that time there. Enjoy your sleep, and I'll speak to you again soon. So GeForce Now, I think at the point that Google Stadia was still around and fresh, it was probably better than GeForce Now, but GeForce Now has progressed since. Like, they keep on improving GeForce Now. It's getting better and better. The hardware behind it, so Stadia ran on AMD Vega GPUs, which were better than the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 by quite a margin, but they weren't as strong as the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series consoles. It was in like this weird middle ground between them. So for a year or so when it came out, it ran games better than the consoles, but then the new consoles released and Stadia never updated from there. So, but they spent a whole lot on that hardware, because the thing with cloud streaming is you can't take your existing cloud infrastructure and say this does games now. Amazon can't go, Amazon Web Services is like, it's everywhere, it does games now. It doesn't work like that. You need dedicated video hardware, like GPUs essentially, which makes it a very expensive endeavor to get into. And obviously Amazon are getting into it with Luna, but data centers aren't just ready to go for gaming. They need to invest a bunch of money. Google invested a bunch of money. They did a whole load of research and development. They got the technology working well. They had the controllers out there. They had exclusivity on Baldur's Gate 3, and then it went away for reasons that we can speculate on and bits and pieces that we do know, but it's long gone, it's dead and buried. However, it did work as 4K streaming goes. GeForce Now, I've not used it directly. I'm very much considering it for Baldur's Gate 3 for the other room, as an option. If my wife decides she does want to play it, then maybe that'll be how she plays it. But I haven't actually used it. I've heard, so Ashes to Ashes likes to talk it up. I've heard that it works really well. It offers 120 frames per second streaming at 4K, which is absurd, but it does it. Yeah, it's there, it's viable, it's an option. I'm getting the impression here that, so Joe, you honestly doubt that speed is the bottleneck. Latency is still a thing. The main bottleneck for streaming, it's not even that. Like, the Netflix comparison that I made earlier is a fitting one, in that I think game streaming today is already good enough for the Netflix crowd, which is obviously a big crowd. A lot of people use Netflix, but when I say it's good enough for the Netflix crowd is not a crowd of people that want to play games necessarily. So ignoring, like, putting aside questions of who the audience is, the experience is like, the experience of playing Google Stadia and how good it was is not the reason that nobody played Google Stadia, if that makes sense. There are other challenges besides it. You've used Luna, and that was the worst of all. Interesting. I've not used Luna. Luna is available in the UK now, but it hasn't been for very long. And I'm not going to cloud stream. I would only be trying these for, like, satisfy my curiosity to see how good or bad they are. But I've only heard good things about GeForce Now. And PlayStation streaming, did I mention what codecs these streaming services use? I didn't mention what codecs they use. It is a good question. Do you know what they use? I mean, Stadia must have used some variant of VP9. Like, Google have their own codecs. Google own the VP codecs that go into WebM and things like that. WebM. They would have used a low latency version of VP9, I would think. VP9 is very expensive to encode, so it might not have been exactly that, but they would have used their own. What would Sony use? I don't know. So nice, fair question. And Xbox use a bespoke one, right? Xbox have a bespoke hardware in the Xbox to compress and decompress, or decode, I should say. Maybe both things are true, actually. I think they have compression and decompression hardware, and they're probably using an industry standard encoder. I don't actually know what they use. Does Netflix use H.265 now? It has to. You can't HDR stream really in anything else besides H.265, VP9 or AV1. That's not strictly true. There are others, but they're big. So you're getting a 4K stream on there at like 6 megabytes per second, really? Normally last time I looked at Netflix, which admittedly wasn't that recently, the streams were taking about 40 meg to stream at 4K with HDR. Which is like massively way below what you'd get off a Blu-ray disc. Even a 1080p like old school Blu-ray disc was about 108, I think. Anyway, codecs besides, who's looking forward to streaming on PlayStation 5 or using any streaming service at all? I'm getting the impression that it's basically no one. No one wants to stream anything, and that's not overly surprising because people that are going to come here and talk to me and talk to each other about like the nerdiest of nerd games are very much the core audience for gaming that have chased and owned hardware forever and chased the best experiences. So not too surprising, but none of us are big on cloud streaming at the moment. Nonetheless, it's a thing. You can do it on the PlayStation if you want. Maybe I'll try it at some point. I probably won't even try it at some point. Let's do Overwatch 2 before I forget. Fuck's sake, Tony. You were the one that wanted it, and you were just going to let me end the show without even looking at the trailer. What's the new hero called? Overwatch 2. Actually, I'll just find Overwatch 2 official channel. See what's recent. Does anybody here, besides Tony, play Overwatch now or in the past? Because, should we go back to the beginning actually. Here is most recent trailer for the new Overwatch 2 content. There's a hero called Flashpoint, has bright hair, is a support hero, so presumably heals in some way. There's a robot guy, he's got like lots of red dots on his head. There's a big mech and a guy in a hat. And here is Transformer knockoff. Oh, is it everyone's favorite? No, it's not. No porn there. In our darkest hours, there's some drop pods, there's some robots. There's heroes rising and fairly weak explosions. Typical characters in visors that we know and love. All new invasion story missions. The PvE content that we were promised that was slightly taken away, but slightly put back. They're showing us the Switch version, you can tell because it looks like a potato. Oh no, the support hero is not Flashpoint, it's Ilari. And she does shooting and dashing and leaping. Well, she does have the bright hair though, occasionally. And there's a new PvP mode called Flashpoint. Flashpoint is the PvP mode, not the new hero. Flashpoint's a good name for a hero though. You throw stuff, it does healing lights. There's a mech shooting missiles. You can explore new PvP maps like Q&Asa and New Junk City. And there's a new game mode called Hero Mastery that looks shite. And then, I don't know, are you ready for more? Are we ready for more? Ah, yeah, Battle Pass. Sign me up. Why did they bother with all these other features? Just tell me about the latest Battle Pass. What can I get? What can I get? How much does it cost? Where do I sign up? Entice me. Underworld Co-op event. I can't pay for that. Ilari launch event. I can't pay for that. Give me the Battle Pass. Hero Mastery event. Get the fuck out. It's boring. Anniversary. Maybe there'll be 2 Battle Passes. If it's an anniversary event, there could be an anniversary Battle Pass and a standard Battle Pass. Right, Tony. It's on you now to tell me, is this good? Are you excited by what we just saw? Wait a minute. Valari is the pillow that the Iron Lords like, I think. It's free with Game Pass Ultimate. What, the Battle Pass is free with Game Pass Ultimate? Or the free-to-play game is free with Game Pass Ultimate? Very confusing. You should take my commentary and make it a clip in TikTok. Well, that's illegal, but you're welcome to. Tony, you asked for that, and you like Overwatch. Is Overwatch in a good state at the moment? Is this patch making it better? Or are you disappointed? Or are you hoping for more? Because I don't really know what to say about that. Like, it just looked like more Overwatch. Boba Fett tried 3 matches of Overwatch and uninstalled. But Boba Fett, did you try it with people that you know, or did you jump in with strangers? Because that's got to make a difference to how much fun it is. Free gaming pillows with Game Pass Ultimate. Well, yes, my butt does hurt. I'll take 3. PvE is still missing. It's going to have a story content which was cancelled. Yeah, but they're calling it story missions. It's a bit like weird messaging on that one, because I remember the story campaign content was cut, but also they do call these story missions to try and make people feel better, probably. Who knows why they're still calling it Overwatch 2. Tony's excited for it. Why are you excited? What's good about it? Is it like the new game mode looks good? The new hero looks good? The new maps? Or have you just not bought a battle pass for a while? I don't know the answer because I'm not an Overwatch person. I will play it with Tony at some point because I've been promising for ages. Tony has a decent rank on Overwatch and he's willing to sacrifice it for us to play a game. I will butcher your matchmaking rank in like record time. We can do that. How does one play with friends when no one is playing it? Well, good question. Valorant looks more intriguing to you personally, but you never tried it. Valorant's like, it was good when it came out, but it's probably too sweaty now. It's got much more crisp shooting mechanics. It's not really that much like Overwatch. Like, the guns are the same across all the characters. It's just the abilities that make them distinct. So it's somewhere between Overwatch and Counter-Strike. It had pretty satisfying shooting, and it was fun when it came out, but it is filled with sweaty, aggressive players now, and it has weird monetization. Like really fishing for whales with the way that game is monetized. So it's free to play, but it's like, you can buy this gun skin for £400. It's shiny, does shiny stuff, and you can get 3 of them, 3 different guns that look shiny, for £8 million. Very expensive cosmetics in that game. But I'm not sure if it has battle passes. Maybe it doesn't. You smashed the button. Wait, you smashed the button so hard that little lights came out. Thank you, Tony. If anybody hasn't smashed the like button, please do. Please do. Apparently YouTube tracks shares very much as well. So if you want to spam a link anywhere, then that would be helpful too. What we're going to do next is fighting. Yes, games. Not sure. What? Oh, you have a feeling that Isla is good at fighting games. Interesting. We shall play some fighting games and find out. Quake 2 soundtrack is so good. Nobody's identified the soundtrack that I've got in the background today. It is not Quake 2. You meant fire. Your hair's on fire. Your hair's on fire. That's a bad idea. Let's do, if your hair is not literally on fire, let's do the questions. I made you install and uninstall a fighting game. That's a true story. So there was a Sunday recently. I've been doing community streams on a Sunday, like playing games with people, multiplayer games for fun. We did some Exoprimal. Before Exoprimal, we did some Street Fighter 6. And then I thought, after all the conversations around Killer Instinct, I thought, you know what? Let's play Killer Instinct. And I gave Isla forewarning because she insists that she has forewarning and gets a specific invitation, or she gets like too anxious to join. So I said, it's going to be Killer Instinct. You can install it if you want. You're very welcome to play. She downloaded all 50 gigabytes of it. But then I tried it and went, oh, actually, I don't actually like Killer Instinct. It doesn't feel very nice. And then I uninstalled it, and that never happened. So my bad. Sorry about that. Anybody that wanted to play Killer Instinct. Let's ignore your comments about drugs. I have ignored your comments about drugs because I don't see them. So that's happened by mistake. Let's do, okay, so Tony's asked a question. Tony's question is, does the first time hurt? Tony, be brave. If it's something that you want, be brave, push through. It does hurt a bit. the first time, then just look forwards to the second time. Next question. I can't scroll up right now. I did scroll up a bit, but I didn't see it. Too far away. I can see your response actually, but I don't see the question. Really don't see the question. Oh wait, why bother streaming if you can play natively? No, that's about cloud. Oh, Isla, are you on drugs was the question. That was a fairly simple question. That's fine. And no, it's your personality. Absolutely. Wait. She's either in the bathroom or her hair is on fire. Both things seem to be happening. Not if you invest in some good quality veg oil, Tony. Well, there's a... like, forbidden knowledge that I didn't know. Okay. You couldn't figure out which word offended it. So, you see that rotating ball? Rotating ball offended it? No, you start out multiple. Testicles offended it? Scrotums offended it. Hang on a minute. You see that rotating ball behind you? Is that how our testicles move inside our scrotum? So I don't think it was Isla asking that one. I think that was probably another Tony question. Yeah, it was a Tony question. Just going to watch it for a moment to confirm. Tony. Definite no. Definite no. Like... no. I know you're trying to cause me physical pain here, but no. Next. Oh, I know, Isla, but you're a scientist. Like, so if you had testicles, you would know exactly how they do or do not rotate and spin, right? I'm just crediting you with, like, a thirst for knowledge. Next question, please. Oh no, another Tony coming back. This is like a forewarning that it's a Tony question. Oh, and I will, before the end, I'll tell you the OST as well, because no one's going to get it, which is fine. It was a very difficult one. So, Tony question. Red Dead Redemption 2 equals masterpiece. Anyone who says otherwise has been deep-throating first-person shooters too much. Tony didn't write shooters twice, but I added it in there for painful discourse in case he watches back. Good. I will play it, and we will find out. Why are we talking about testicles? The answer to that, illegal dad, is Tony. Tony Okami. Next question, please. Stop spelling testicles like that. It's upsetting. Testiles, yes. In fact, stop spelling testicles altogether. That's a fine idea, isn't it? Final Fantasy 15 better than Final Fantasy 16. That's very disheartening, Tony. I was looking forwards to Final Fantasy 16, but if it's not even as good as Final Fantasy 15, what even is the point of installing it? Next. Gonads, the Greek hero of course. Okay, testiculus, yes. Very good. Apart from VR games, sorry, what is my all-time favorite game? Name and year? I don't know. I can't do just one, right? There's Panzer Dragoon Saga that came out in 1990 something. I'm going to say 1997, but I don't know when it came out. Panzer Dragoon Saga is one of them. Halo, the first Halo game, is one of them. I'd probably have Shining Force 3 in there. I'd have Asheron's Call 2 in there because I played those obscure little games a billion times. Loved them very much. What else would go in there? That's off the top of my head. And fifth one is going to be Mario 64. 1998 for Panzer Dragoon Saga. Thank you. Absolutely fucking awesome game. Apparently they only made 1,000. Oh no, I've gone. Why have I gone? Black square is good enough, right? Oh, back. Oh, I've zoomed out. Whatever. We're going to do the rest of it with me being really small. Really small in the background. That's the second time that happened. It happened on a stream the other day, but it doesn't make sense because mechanically my camera lens hasn't moved, it hasn't zoomed, it hasn't changed. I don't like it. Gonna artificially grow it on OBS. No, fucking terrible. Whatever, it'll do for now. Fix that for next time. Yes, I'm afraid your footage is ruined, but I'm not going to say anything good now anyway. It's not the wrong camera. It was the same camera. It just reset to its default zoomage. Panzer Dragoon Saga. Yeah, we've done that. And nobody bought when I said Mario 64 as one of my favorites. You're all frauds. You've never listened to a word I've said. Joe asked, what's my intro music and can I upload it to YouTube? I'll find out. Wait, what intro music? You mean before the show starts? I can't remember what it's called. It says my name over and over again, so it's not much good in that sense. Thirst Trap on Tap is the original version, yes. So the track, and if you Google it on that, I'm sure you'll find out. It's Izuna or something. I can't remember the chap/service that gave it to me. It's Thirst Trap on Tap, but it's a recording that recites my name. So there, that's what it is. Behind the scenes video on my OnlyFans. It's true. That's how I afforded my 4090. Half-Life 2 is one of your favourites. That's a good shout. And this is very open. If anybody else wants to yell favourites, then do so. Half-Life 2 doesn't quite hit that mark for me. Much as it was good, and I liked all the physics-based stuff, I think I probably played it a bit too late. The reason that I don't have it on the list is I can't actually remember the story. And that's not meaningless. I can remember so much of all of those other games that I said. They stuck with me in a way that makes them like quite difficult to forget. Whereas Half-Life, I played it and I remember certain scenes and certain things. I played the whole of Half-Life 2. I played Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 as well. But I remember so little of what was actually going on. So still, I've got a Half-Life 2 VR mod on my to-do list, so I'm going to go through it again, take it in properly, and maybe it will appear on that list in the next time we ask. Shining Force 3 over 2. I've not played 2, and I've not played Shining the Holy Ark. They are on my list, but Boba Fett, did you play? So you're obviously like a Shining Force aficionado. I don't know that word. I shouldn't have tried it. You obviously know your Shining Force 3 games. Did you play Shining Force 3 Scenario 2 and 3 with English transitions? Words are such a challenge. I don't know why I do this kind of like talking gig because I can't use words. But did you play Shining Force 3 Scenario 2 and 3 with the English translation? Because I'm not sure you can judge those games unless you've played that in full. I think if you, in the US and UK, you didn't get Scenarios 2 and 3, so you only got a third of Shining Force 3 actually released. And when I say the Shining Force 3 is one of my favourites, I'm talking about the entirety of it. Shining Force 3 Scenario 1 on its own wouldn't make the list. Divine Divinity is your first all-nighter game. Was that really good, Illegal Dad? I've never played. I own Divine Divinity, and I own the Divinity Dragon Commander game. But the only Divinity ones I've actually played are Original Sins 1 and 2, which came later. And actually, if you get Baldur's Gate 3 and you get the Larian launcher, it doesn't even list Divine Divinity as one of their games. It's just Original Sin 1, 2, and Baldur's Gate. You loved it, but it's not turn-based. I mean, that's not a problem. I don't only play turn-based games. Maybe I'll give that a go at some point. It's subjective. You don't hear many choose 3 over 2, that's all. And you prefer 2. That's not what I want to know. I want to know, because it's quite rare to find people that have played Shining Force 3 Scenarios 2 and 3, just because they, like, Sega never sold them. Shining Force 3 Scenario 1 came out, and then they pretty much shuttered the Saturn. So Scenarios 2 and 3 only came out in Japan, in Japanese. And you have to jump through some hoops to play an English translation, yes, like fan-modded translated versions that I played. You can get them to work on the Saturn itself, I think, but I played them emulated on the PC. I own the discs. The Japanese discs, but I played them emulated with English translation, as well as playing them in Japanese when they actually came out. But see, I've not had this conversation with many people. Nobody's actually told me that Shining Force 2 stands up as potentially a better game. I've got Shining Force 2 on one of the Sega compilations or something, or maybe I bought it standalone with the intention to play it. So yeah. Maybe you just elevated it higher up onto my backlog. Joe, no, that's... Pains me, Joe. Pains me. I'm gonna feel really awkward. I am very grateful. I do appreciate that, genuinely. I don't want to ask people to give me super chats. Holiday Vino, I will get some wine in on the holiday. Thank you. Money, 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 now dance. Pull out the pole and dance. There's no room in here for a pole, Tony. I got a treadmill instead. I've got a virtual reality sleepy dish. Weird, you're gonna have to look into it. Fair enough. Fair enough, yes. Shining Force was a weird one. It's one of the reasons that I like it so much was the way that they delivered it. Different support in the US? No, I'm pretty sure you only got Scenario 1 in the US as well. They just, Sega just died before the whole game came out. It was a pretty bold strategy in the first place to do, to release Shining Force 3 as 3 separate games, and it was 3 entirely separate games. The first game had you play as the Republican army, like son of the Republican general or whatever. Second game had you play on the opposite side. You played as one of the princes in its empire. And through both of those scenarios, there was a character called Julian who joins your party for a little while, who was the protagonist of the third, which draws the through line to the end and pulls all 3 armies together for the real fight. It's such a good game. 3-part, such a good game. Anyway, I'm still embarrassed. I don't like super chats. No, don't pay to talk to me. Just give me words. Thank you, Joe. Let's do. Did I ever play? See, Illegal Dad. I don't talk about this game because I don't know how to say its name. I'm gonna read it kind of phonetically as Suikoden 2. Chris at Iron Lords or Lognet adores that game and is constantly talking about it and telling me to play it. I haven't played it. Its remaster is due out this year, so it's HD upgrade or something. Like, it's not a dramatic remaster, but 1 and 2 are re-releasing this year, as well as the that 100 Heroes game that comes out next year. So I am going to play it. I have never played it. I do suspect I will love it. Did I play Dragon Force and Dark Savior? I played a bit of Dark Savior. I never played Dragon Force. I had a literal paper magazine that had pictures of Dragon Force, and I really wanted it, but couldn't afford it when it came out and didn't buy it. Never went back to it. There was a Dragon Force 2 as well. Would like to play both of them. Did I answer the question that's up at the moment? I forgot how the show works. Joe threw me off with money. Tony asked, did you see toilet that has a PC built inside it, so you don't need to leave the bathroom while pooping and gaming? I didn't, Tony. I didn't, but you've got my mind racing on how I can make that work in a streaming setup. Chrono Trigger beats all Shining Forces. Bold. A lot of people would agree with you, I'm sure, but I really like them. So, oh, another question. It is, Peter, would Saturday Go Live start on time if Gaz pulled his finger out? Or is it other factors? No, it's absolutely Gaz's fault almost every Saturday. He'll probably start on time this week just because I'm not there. Or not at all. He might just not start at all. It's very awkward, and I'm hoping this week where I'm not there, I'm hoping that Gaz is going to learn the benefits of people arriving early so that you can test like audio and cameras and all of that kind of stuff before 9 o'clock. I'm hoping that now that he has to deal with it, he's going to be like, oh shit, it must be really annoying when I turn up at 9:10 and it will be a thing of the past. More likely, yeah, he'll still turn up at 9:15. The show will start at about 9:30, like you say. We shall see. But no, it is genuinely always Gaz. Every now and again you'll get a guest that's late as well, but typically, yeah. And yes, I am away this weekend and I will try to have a good time. Thank you, Peter. Next question. Mario 64. That was a lie, Illegal Dad. I despise Mario 64. I'm sorry. And like every 3D platformer since, apart from Psychonauts 2 and the Astrobot one on the PlayStation, that's quite nice too. Yeah, favourites Mia Malkova. I don't really watch tennis, so no, Tony. Enjoy not paying taxes on the one. Thank you, Tony. Please never do that again. Thank you, Tony. Right, I actually have no idea who Mia Malkova is. I'm assuming it's not a tennis player. I just thought I'll run with that and see what happens. Let's do... I'm not going to Google it because Tom said it, and Tom, I've learned, is like Tony, so I probably don't want to Google who that is. Let's do the next one. Tony says, I woke up and said it's Thursday, then it hit you that today is Asa show. You felt a calming, overwhelming feeling of relief and hardness that you've never experienced. Is this normal? And should you see a doctor? Yes, Tony, you should see a doctor. Calming sensations should never feel overwhelming. That's the opposite of calming. So I sense great conflict within you. You should see several doctors. Next question, please. Not going anywhere that has forest fires. Not going anywhere far. A perv. What? Why did you say a perv? What's going on? Do I want to know, or do I want to skip that? She definitely dressed in a tennis outfit on at least one occasion. There we go. Okay. Okay. Right. Anyone else playing Limbo again? Is anyone else loving playing Limbo again? Peter, what's prompted you to play Limbo again? I called Tom a perv. Oh, because I said it was like Tony. I am so sorry, everyone, that I've said he's like Tony. But we like Tony here. It's not awful. How low can you go? No, Limbo is like Inside and stuff like that. I've never played through it. It's supposed to be really good. Gave you an achievement point if you walk left at the start, right? You get like 50 achievement points for walking left. You want to watch the Gran Turismo movie? Why do you want to watch the Gran Turismo movie? I'm very curious about that. What's like appealing about it, Isla? Why do you want to watch it? Joe, I'm not particularly interested in it. I've not seen the trailer for it though, so maybe that's the reason. Maybe if I watch the trailer, I'll be more interested than expected. The Need for Speed film was like better than it deserved to be for a Need for Speed game. You're always curious about video game movies. I'm not sure if I am. I guess, like, it's just the fact that it's Gran Turismo. So, like, video game movies, it kind of is and it kind of isn't. It's a retelling of a real, like, a true-to-life story, right? Tony, you gotta go, no worries. I'm clearly finishing up anyway, but thank you for coming along as you always do. Thank you for being a badger with your bronze badge, sending that super chat and all of those stuff. Send your pics. That's not how the super chat transaction works. But enjoy your time with T-Rex or whatever it is that you're going to go do right now. Did I ever play Braid? Nope. Had such a messed up ending. I didn't play Braid. It had the guy from Stranger Things. Yeah, I've seen pictures of the Gran Turismo movie. I know it has that guy that disappointingly didn't die in Stranger Things. That could speak of so many characters. You think it's bombing, but it could be Console Warriors. The critical reception for it has been quite poor. I don't think that's Console Warriors. But critical reception of films is, like, never necessarily in sync with what real people think, right? So who knows, maybe it's a decent watch. You suspect it's Gaz hammering Metacritic on multiple accounts. This Gaz could well be. He wouldn't do it for that long. Like, he never pays attention to any one thing for very long, so he would have hammered it briefly for a little while and then moved on. You like the Resident Evil movies, but that's different to Gran Turismo, right? Because the Resident Evil movies, they were very loosely based on the games, but they were games that told a story, and they were like, now we're going to try and tell that story in cinema. Gran Turismo movie is not trying to tell the story of Gran Turismo in cinema. Resident Evil movies were terrible, yeah, I tend to agree. Although Joe says the latest one on Alcatraz was actually really good. I've not seen that. You like them as their own thing. Yeah, again, that's fine. Gran Turismo tells a story though, whereas the games don't. The games are racing games. You race. Gran Turismo tells the story of the, like, FIA racing pedigree and championships that Gran Turismo maybe still offers, but probably just used to offer, where they allowed people to get really good at the game and then get contracts for racing in real life. It's the story of a kid that got good at the game and went into real life racing. So it's a story of real life rather than a story of a game. The game just happens to be the centerpiece of the real life story, if that makes sense. Real life stories are normally boring. Made up stories are more interesting usually, because I'm a massive child like that. Next, did anybody answer about Limbo? Peter, did you say what's inspired you to start playing it again? Inside is amazing, but going back to Limbo, you loved it all over again. But why did you go back to Limbo? Oh, it just came back on Game Pass. I didn't know that. I didn't even know that it left Game Pass, let alone came back. Okay. How long does Limbo take to get through? Maybe I should give it a run. Maybe I should give it a run. You're going to get to watching Gran Turismo at some point? At some point, like, at home, or you're going to try and go to the cinema to watch it? The music is familiar. You might have heard this music earlier on within this show, because it's only like, I don't know, an hour and 10 minutes of music on loop. Oh, you meant the other Resident Evil. Okay, very confusing. Let's do... Oh, it takes 2 hours to get through Limbo. I could stream Limbo, get through the entirety of it, if it only takes 2 hours. It's quick, and you bought it when it came out and you loved it. I might own Limbo. I don't know. I definitely played it a bit. But only like 50 achievement points for walking left as a fly. Depends how low you can go. Very low. I'm an exceptional Limbo artist, and people that Limbo aren't even typically called artists, but in my case, I am a Limbo artist. And I am entirely making that up. Is that it? Did we run out of questions? We did. I played Somerville on popular request. People demanded that I played Somerville. So I did. Can you have a refund? I'm going to play Limbo, alright? Not right now, though. Right now, I'm going to end this jolly little show. Not even finished my wine yet. That's weird. You bullied me into playing Somerville and then you slept through it. You weren't the only one. Tony also bullied me into playing Somerville. I think Peter was also on board with the Somerville bullying. You want to see here me at my lowest? Suspect that I keep it in the noggin. Anyway, right, Joey's off. Thank you. Everybody's off because I'm off as well, which means the stream is going to end. So before I go, I'm going to tell you, nobody even had a near miss on the OST today. I don't think anybody even attempted a guess at what it is. So I had bullied you previously by asking. This is a true story. I had the thumbnail for Somerville for like 6 months before I actually played it. Tommy made the tallest burger that you've ever made. Like, how tall? In inches, I guess. Tell me what's in it while I tell you what the game is. It's not Wipeout. I've actually forgotten what the game's called. But that's fine. That means I can describe the game to you. I've just remembered what it's called, but pretend that I've forgotten what it's called. So it is a game where it's a third-person cover shooter with robots. You shoot the robots and shatter them to pieces. They have quite good system of damage and deformation. It was quite old. It was made... if I tell you who it's made by, it gets too easy. It was a 360 game, probably. Shooting robots. You're a robot and you shoot robots. 2 burgers, caramelized onion, brie, and barbecue sauce. Oh, Tom, that's not even that tall. Because I can imagine the same, but with double that. That's big enough that you probably need to dislocate your jaw to eat it, though. So, sounds delicious. Hope it really is. Does it begin with a U? It does not begin with a U. It is... have I played From the Darkness? No, I've not played many horror games, and when I do play them, I play them in VR. I started playing horror games when I started streaming games, because they're quite entertaining to share the scares. But no, I haven't played that one. The game begins with letters. No, it's made by Sega. It has only one iteration, no sequels, no spin-offs. A fire and forget, one-off game, lots of robots to shoot. It's not Vanquish. It's more of a cover shooter. Vanquish is like faster paced than this. Run and gun and slide in Vanquish. This is closer to a Gears pacing. Gonna reveal it with the trailer. Yes, Isla, it does. Don't want to bring the trailer up from there or there. The machine age has begun. You found it on Google. Yeah, I thought you probably had. Didn't think it would be a game that you'd ever heard of. Not Chrome Hounds or anything like that. Trailer running at 6 frames per second. It's delightful. Robots carrying boxes, doing robot stuff. I'm not bullying you, Isla. Clearly nobody has heard of this game. Revengeance? No. Not Vanquish. I lied about you being a robot, so I probably didn't help anyone's cause. Or maybe you are a robot, I can't remember. Why have you heard of it? Why have I heard of it? I played it. It was like a decent game. The robot destruction was good. Smash! It's definitely going to bring up the title screen at the end of the trailer and then all will be revealed. Whoa. Here we go. Binary Domain. OST was from Binary Domain. Mechanical. Fits with the background. Headhunter, no. Binary Domain. Which I'm assuming nobody here has ever played, which is fine. It wasn't exactly a huge success, which is why there is no Binary Domain 2. But it was a decent enough game. And on... Bug off, no. Ah, Tom's played it. Good. Thrilling conclusion. On that note, to make sure that that is the conclusion, this is the end. I'm away from tomorrow morning, so there will be no streams or particular like anything until Tuesday. Monday. I think I'm back on Monday in time for something. So please do smash like. Please do share this if you had fun. Leave any comments with any questions and all the rest of it. Go Live is still supposed to be happening this weekend without me. It's supposed to be. And I will be back here next Thursday and with normal streams in the evenings and all the rest of it. Thrills are plenty. Protest in chat on Saturday. Don't protest. There's nothing that you can do to change it. Like, I'm not going to cancel the holiday. It's too late. Looks like a PS2 game. It was a PS3 and 360 game. So not far off. And I will see you all next week.
Q&Asa. Game on Daily.